Here we go now.
Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the scene? Kicking up the dust, if you know what I mean. We got a good thing going. We got a good thing going on.
Make it clap.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021 Bangladesh region. All thanks to, of course, Oppo F19 Pro, along with which, of course, the official media partners Nemo TV. This is going to be day number 3, and to get things started off, it is, of course, going to be me, Blotter, along with Ankit, to take you through the journey. When it comes to the teams, we've been introduced to all the teams, but now this is when the saga of that domination will be showcased from these teams, and eventually we shall see what this third day is going to bring to the table.
As far as you just said, this domination, I mean, it has been a complete domination, jam-packed way, because it was yesterday's gameplay. I mean, bad intentions was really looking good from Group B side, because it was Group B and D, and since it is a third day, A, B are done, C and D are done, it is going to be a round robin where A and D will be going head-to-head and locking their horns in this battlefield arena, where we're getting to see a lot of teams into action. And talking about Group A and D, I want to see how Gods Reborn and obviously D Bad Intentions are playing, but for the moment, it is going to be the tournament explanation in front of TV screens. 1 and 2 day 2s are done. It is gonna be the day 3. Mark your words, mark that, highlight that point where Group A and D gonna be head to head. Each group eventually plays 12 matches, 4 matches per day in the semi-finals, and the top 11 from here will be aggressing for the finals. 4 days it will be, and obviously in the finals it will be 16 matches per team. That means 4 matches per day, as we are getting to see the Erangel and then the Miramar and the Sanhok and the Erangel that will be also followed in that format.
Also, with that, we are going to be looking at, when it comes to the finals itself, 11 slots are available for these 32 teams, and they are going to have to dominate because 5 teams have already been invited into the final itself. Along with that, you talk about the prize pool, wherein you have $29,200 on the line for these teams. But alongside all of that, yes, that's a massive prize pool, but the bragging rights are going to come in for the first position holder because they will be qualifying for PMPL Season 4.
The caption. The highlighted caption in green, qualified for PMPL Season 4, is where everyone must be eyeing upon. Apart from the $36,000, that's fine. That's pretty fine. That's a massive prize pool to have in your bag because that is what the teams are playing for. But that's not only the thing that you're playing for. You get multiple teams, multiple perks and attributes that get attached to it because that PMPL slot is also on the stake, is also up to grabbed by any team if they want to. If they have the caliber, you are up to it. But what are and how are they playing for? Pretty much the standard point structure where they've seen in the past. 15 placement points given to the team that gets the chicken, and we have seen in yesterday's gameplay how it was IPG that was going all in all. But pretty much till now it has been the team, it has been all the team that has been getting this 15 point separated and segregated in their own way.
Most certainly, and as so perfectly mentioned by Ankit as well, it is the kill-hungry teams that are, of course, dominating for now. And in that, we did see GR Esports that were Gods Reborn making a complete, absolute, perfect Godsmack performance from their side, and that has resulted in this team getting themselves on the top of the leaderboard. And now, today, the conversation is, will they be able to retain that first position for themselves? Because, of course, Gremlin Storm are going to be part of it, along with which, of course, Black Diamond, GS Legends, Martyrs EPSILONes, Sinner Esports, Faceoff Esports are all part of this Group A. And as we move on down towards the next set, which is, of course, going to be Group D, where Group A and D are the ones participating today, we are going to be introduced to, of course, Eccentric Infinity, TRZ Esports, T-Rex Skeleton, Bad Intentions X, and the journey continues on.
Bad Intentions, 4 matches, 63 total points. The picture will be more clear when we get to see the overall ranking, but as far as I know, it is the 63 total points. They don't have any chickens, still at that second position. This is gonna be a game changer for Group A, as we can get to see, because most and most teams from Group A and D have looked aggressive. And as far as the schedule is concerned, in what sort of way the players and the teams will be battling their way out, it is going to be Erangel, it is going to be Miramar, then Sanhok, and finishing things and the day off in style, it is going to be for Erangel. So the void is filled between Miramar and Sanhok, but the predominant thing, the map, obviously, it is going to be Erangel. And in talking about the Erangel, I mean, some teams really do have a very good chance upon them. It was Gods Reborn that started the PMCO journey. The very first day of the very first game, they got the chicken. But then it was also a bounce back by them in the game of Sanhok. If you remember, they won game number 3. That means these lush green ecosystem, they love to have it.
Absolutely, and bringing the conversation back towards the storyboard itself, where we were just talking about GR Esports absolutely dominating, bringing themselves on the top of the leaderboard with 69 points. Following them very closely is, of course, going to be Bad Intentions X from Group D, chiming in along on the second position with no chicken dinner thus far. But eventually, when it comes to the kill department, this team of Bad Intentions have been absolutely fabulous. With 40 kills they have accumulated, along with the 23 placement points. They are looking pretty comfortable with the 63 point marker for themselves. But now, today, the conversation between Group A and D is going to be based on who are the ones who will move on to the top of the totem pole, so to say.
Bamboozling the lobby, that's what I have to say about Bad Intentions. 40 kills in 4 matches on an average, if you calculate 10 kills per match in this lobby when they have played. So now, this time it is not going to be easy, because the opponents that they are going to be facing, that are also the most aggressive one, because it is obviously going to be the GR that will be chiming in that in order to get things done. But for the moment, it is Black Diamonds from Group A again that is on the 9th spot. They really had some good games, but then they falter down, and sooner or later they will be making a comeback for sure, because at the end of the day, they are here to fight their and put the best game out and fight the metal out. But second, third of the chart shows that it is going to be T-Rex Skeleton, and there's some teams that are on the third half of the chart getting closer and closer. Sinner Esports. So now this is a team that is really good with the placement point. points, 13 placement points, but just the 5 kill points, and that's make them sort of not in a position. But as soon as we head towards these teams, it is going to be GS Legends that I will have my eyes set upon. It's the only team from 25 to 29, because 3 teams have been DQ'd.
Absolutely, that is just not the kind of play that I was anticipating when it comes down to the PMCO itself, but eventually that is the case that has been resulting in a few of these teams certainly getting DQ'd based on the different stats that they showcase. But eventually, as we move on along, the stats journey just never ends. Right now, we are going to be looking at a head-to-head between these two teams where GR Esports and Bad Intentions, as we did see in the overall ranking, are so very close, but the perfect play that has been showcased from Bad Intentions has slowly and steadily been climbing up the ladder with, of course, the damage dealt. They have gotten 7,781 damage that they've been able to deal out to the opponent teams, along with which, of course, as they took on fights, they themselves did receive a lot of damage as well compared to, of course, GR Esports. Eventually, 40 kills and no chicken dinner is what Bad Intentions have, but still find themselves on the 2nd position. So a wonderful turn of events for Bad Intentions, but today we shall have to see in the same lobby as they go against GR Esports, what sort of a play style are they going to be bringing to the table, and will they get that first chicken dinner for themselves?
That's the question of the hour. That is going to be the question of the hour, and certainly that is where my eyes will be constantly be ticking up upon it too, because it is gonna be the team to watch out for. That is going to be the next graphics, and as you perfectly mentioned, the journey, the pursuit of all these graphics and stats never end, and that will be coming in for sure. I guess the producers are there to find ourselves and find themselves in these spots where TRZ Esports, we have the scorecard. I mean, this is the team that is to be a watch out for, as this is from Group D. We have been talking about a lot. I mean, Mamba, Mad Cat, Atomic, Mr. Rare. I mean, all the 4 lads have been doing gobsmackingly well. 10 plus 4 plus 5, I guess 23 total kills, if my maths is correct. If not, just let me know in the chat section, or maybe somewhere down the line somewhere else. But Mamba has been the absolute stunner performer. But obviously it is everyone else, because it's the kill conversion rate where Mamba is just, I mean, overpowering others. 10 kills, 1170 damage, but Atomic, more often it just don't get highlight and just get the shadowed, because it's not every time that the 5 kills and the 6 kills eventually justifies the gameplay that you're playing. Here we just got to see Mamba just 1170 damage, and that got converted to 10 kills. Eventually it is obviously Atomic getting 1300 damage, but just the 5 kill. That means he has been the one that has given a maximum assist, but was just not able to get converted. But today is gonna be a jam-packed lobby.
Oh, yes.
We have Bad Intentions, we have TRZ Esports, we have the team toppling the table, that is GR Esports, and
Exactly.
then it is gonna be, how can you forget, 7C GSM. I mean, this was not a day perfectly for them, because they find themselves in a position where they were getting down slowly, and steadily. It was God's Reborn that made the earlier push onto them, and the rest of the 3 game was also not going to the favor, and they were not looking good. They were looking off-colored. But in all these situations, 16 teams, among them the 4 big name. I mean, a lot of opportunities for them.
Absolutely. With that, let's get busy with the day itself. Let's move on along with the show of the flow, and of course, flow of the show is what I meant to say right there. But moving on, it is going to be, of course, 14 teams chiming in, and this is where the saga begins, where we do see the flight path on our screens going all the way from west of the map from Quarry all the way down towards the Milta Power, and it is going to be dominating towards the southern region of the entire map for now. So that means Georgopol, Yasnaya, Rozhok, these Severny, these sort of drop locations are going to be very, very difficult to get to. I mean, not entirely not necessarily impossible, but of course, based on the way that the flight path has chosen this time around, it is going to give a little bit of a tricky affair for a few of these teams. But eventually, as the journey progresses on for TRZ, it is going to be a perfect turn of events, because right off the bat, they get the opportunity to go down towards their known location of Primorsk, and that is working absolutely perfectly for them, because they are going to be jumping into the map, onto the map, and will be able to, of course, start getting those loot accumulated, whereas the other teams are still going to be, well, slowly and steadily finding themselves into their own comfortable spots. But for now, it is, of course, going to be on the other tangent. Eccentric also on towards the western front. We can clearly see that there is absolutely no team around them as well, and they get to their own comfortable drop location spot and looking absolutely perfect in doing so, because for now, when it comes to the teams itself, it is going to be an early contestation that I am keeping my eyes out towards, and that, of course, is not really the conversation, because so many of these teams are not necessarily for now close to each other. But right off the bat, it is going to be 7C GSM, Gremlin Storm, not off to a good start. Roffeth has been brought down to his knees, and it is going to be none other than MARTYRS Epsilon Thor, who is going to be reigning supreme onto the ladder of course, Gremlin Storm, and eventually he will get the first blood. What a perfect start for MARTYRS Epsilon, but eventually the sad state of affair for Rafat right there.
Not a start, not a perfect start, and right off the bat, right on the go, we expected this team to actually shine. A lot of opportunities still left, but this was not the way the things should have started, and also not the way to go down. I mean, you have the gun. If you try to take the player down by the skills, it's okay, but there was a big tree trunk. He should have at least dodged that incoming, that massive UAV. Obviously, US that could have actually saved him, but certainly was not the case. Since 7Cs, GSM really go down towards the area of Pochinki. I really don't understand why the one player was going down towards where MARTYRS Epsilon players have actually jumped in. I guess that's maybe the US that actually because of that he was pretty much getting attracted towards that, and because of that he just lost his life. But on to the other hand side, it is not an easy task for Rex to survive, as now STFU bot has gone down in the early stage of the game. So right off the go, as we expected, as we said, but since it's just the 14 players, 14 teams in the lobby, because it is not going to be the Phantom Esports and Unstoppable ES for rest of the PMCO that are not going to be of journey, but still the fight is on. The fight is on, the action is on, and we are getting to see knock. It seems that it is going to be an easy task for Puma to take down Exorcist, as the players are looking strong at this moment. With the FD's players coming into the frame, Faceoff will be getting one kill secured in the early stage of the game.
Well, what a play this is turning out to be. I mean, right off the bat in the first 3 minutes itself, we've been a part of 2 individual fights that have taken on, and right here in doing so, Faceoff also start off things in perfect domination, sort of a favor for themselves, and it is looking a perfect flavor, because that is the way that Faceoff wants to start off the day, and it is looking real good because they have been able to get that kill confirmed for themselves, the point confirmed for themselves, and absolutely no knocks being, or rather no kills on their side is certainly going to turn into a perfect fight for the side of Faceoff Esports. For now, of course, we can clearly see that when it comes to the utilities, it is not a lot, because it's only 4 minutes into the game, so you cannot really anticipate or expect the players to be absolutely set up in just the first 4 initial minutes of the game itself. But indeed, in doing so, Faceoff still have been able to get a kill confirmed for themselves, and of course, this is where the team of GS did not favor their spot, and eventually the drop that they decided to choose was absolutely against them. On the other tangent, as we move on towards the X Factor team, a team to watch out for, it is the TRZ Esports team, who find themselves on the 5th position for now, with a total of 23 kills, as Ankit had mentioned earlier as well, with 49 points in total. This team is going to be absolutely the X Factor that can topple over this entire lobby, but we shall have to see if the day is going to be favoring them or not.
Till now, it is the peace and the settlement. That's where the players are moving towards. And since it's just a 14-player lobby that will be playing for the rest of the day, as I am again mentioning the teams that have been queued, it is going to be a tough challenge if we expect the chaos and the ruckus to erupt in the early stage of the game, as we have been witnessing in the past. And we love to have all these ruckus, these bloodbaths. But for me, it is going to be a sad thing to witness, because I really love to watch all these players going head-to-head. But since the number of the players are not just ample enough to take the fight, it's just the 53. Since those early knocks have been already done, it is going to be an true settlement where the players were just looting their for their safe compound and the fortified areas, and then they might be moving towards other areas where they might be looking to go towards. But till now, I would really want to see the circle, where the circle has actually formed, because it seems that Final Cut Esports are into the area of prison, and since it is Rex, the team T-Rex skeleton, that really was not looking good and was off-colored in the earlier yesterday's gameplay, is out in the open. They should have realized that there's going to be Final Cut Esports one player that is on the top of this mountain, but he was really unable to bring one more knock. That should have been a knock. That certainly should have been a knock.
Well, again, I mean, when it came down to the spray itself, it did not absolutely, completely confirm the kill for themselves or a knock for themselves, but eventually the information has been relayed from the players of Final Cut, and this is where, of course, the X Factor can very well be favoring Final Cut if they play their cards right. On the other tangent, talk about T-Rex, well, they have been caught off guard in that present department, and in that doing so, they have given away a lot of the information to the team of Final Cut, and eventually, when it comes to the play itself, will it be enough for the side of Final Cut to be able to dominate on top of T-Rex? For now, they are absolutely pincered down, but eventually the play and the make is not well, interesting play that is being created from the side of Final Cut. They are, of course, not really interested in the fight for the moment from the looks of it. They are going to be getting themselves set up onto different angles of the entire ridge itself, and in doing so, this is where T-Rex can actually have the X Factor and move on along to get themselves segregated and moved away from prison itself. But they've decided not to be able to do so because, of course, there is that confusion still that if at all the Final Cuts players are there, T-Rex will lose another teammate. They've already lost one of their lads, thus they are remaining with just a 3-man army down towards the prison region. And in the mini-map, we can clearly see the kind of flank that is being created from Final Cut could very well favor them. But in terms of the information itself, I don't see a lot of players from the sort of Final Cut making opportunities for themselves and trying to get that information. I mean, they know that there is a team down there, but they still keep on getting into the vehicles and moving away and out of the situation itself, thus giving T-Rex another form factor that could favor them. But again, as they do so, it is looking like a stalemate situation for both of those teams.
Black Diamond, they have a setup. They have a setup ready near the Nova of Noibet. Jigsaw is leading the charge. I mean, Rochi is on the back end side, and Bappi along with his other player that is going to be NEV4 in the back end side. It is not going to be an easy task. The team that has gone towards the area of Nova of Noibet, be aware, be very aware, because some teams really love to go towards that side. It used to be some time earlier ago where 7C GSM loved to go towards that side, but till now we have been seeing whatever the game we have seen, the Erangels, it is the Pochinki what they have taken control of. But one more, obviously they tried to spray down the players, but one more kill is what has been added in the team's tally, with the players moving slowly and steadily. It is going to be the shelters around the compounds area, those core house, where they will be finding their shelter around these areas, and slowly and steadily the players will be also segregating the loots. The players are just not letting other one to just park on that vehicle, but since God's Reborn are in the frame, it seems that now the fight will be erupting. Since Confused is in that one shot, it's the one shot that has been knocked down pretty much away from this compound. I mean, the revival, it seemingly is impossible in this game.
Well, certainly is going to be the cause, and GR on the other tangent are looking absolutely in control of this perfect spray that they are showcasing on the other tangent. Talk about Final Cuts. Viper right here, who has been absolutely dominating with the SKS and has been able to bring down one player that's going to be none other than Sakil from the side of GR, and eventually this has brought down to a 3v3 situation, but the kill has not been confirmed, and of course the teammate from the side of GR is going to be able to give that revival on the other tangent. Talk about a flank being created. We can clearly see right here Tauter and his teammate are going to be moving on to a completely different sect of the compound down towards the Milta region.
What McLaren, I mean, the skin was just impeccably looking good, but for the moment it is going to be Tauter that is trying to create the flank angle, but realizing the fact that it's God's Reborn on the enemy front, it is not going to be an easy task even to fall themselves away, as now Sketch is just trying to sketch out the whole scenario, and he is trying to move slowly and steadily into the way. It is going to be also Sakil with no helmet. He is giving the fight. He has got the revival, but Tauter, he has reached to the place where it was eventually obviously Final Cut Esports player that were positioning themselves, but as soon as they realized the death, they realized the fear, the danger that is coming in, the player has safely fallen away. And Tauter, with the fan approach that they have come in, and with the gunpowder that he has bring in, because I can already see a lot of fans have already been chiming and spamming his name with the heart. It was really important to see, and I was waiting to see if he can actually get one more knock into this side. But since Final Cut Esports player have actually fallen away from this situation, now they are around the bunkers area of shelter, and this is also not an easy area to actually get a hold of, since all the rest of the two players are not in the same proximity, in the same vicinity. I mean, they really need to congregate as soon as possible. But as we said, it is seeming that now God's Reborns are taking the fight with some other teams in the same proximity.
Well, they find themselves in the comfort of the compound indeed, and in doing so, they have been able to confirm that one kill for themselves, having not lost even a single player on the other tangent. The Final Cut, who are still trying to take a fight, as they do find another team making a rotation very close to their positioning itself, and it will be none other than Faceoff Esports that are now going to be at the brunt. But eventually, when it comes down to the fights themselves, this is where this team of GR is absolutely perfectly in control of this compound as well as the area around them, as they have the information for so many teams around in the area who are making that rotation that will probably benefit GR. But eventually, for the moment, they've only been able to confirm that one kill. So now, as the game moves on along, this is the second circle. We are almost at the 12-minute marker. This is the moment where, of course, things are going to get heated up. And eventually, as we move on down to the first airdrop, it is going to be the MK14 with the level 3 kit that has been set up. And again, it is almost like a gift to a team who will move on down towards that compound. That, all right, the compound is yours. Along with that, you've got this first airdrop with the perfect MK14 waiting for you.
Season of gift. Yesterday games also, we saw some teams really getting that gift in their own lap. And since it is pretty much close to where the teams can actually rotate, it is seeming like that the bad intentions are all on a roll. They are playing on the players of Faceoff ES, and they have gotten one more kill into the name, and it's just the opening, just the 12 minutes of the game, and slowly and steadily the map is heating up, the fight is building up, and the ecosystem, all in all, it is getting more fierce as we head towards some other team. It is the shelter area where Final Cut Esports are fighting themselves under it, and they are having those random fires, but the circle is throwing that X factor, that curve wall, and we have seen these sort of circles that tends to go away from the center line, and that also leaves the oceanic region, and thus forming themselves around the center lines where God's Reborn have actually positioned. I guess Final Cut should have hold that compound.
Well, they should and could have, but eventually that's not the case as the conversation moves on down towards the center of the zone itself. We do see, of course, T-Rex alongside them is going to be GR, who find themselves in a very comfortable spot in the center of the zone. On the other tangent, talk about teams who are going to be out in the open for the moment down towards this military base. We do have, of course, Fallen 5 Esports who are making that late rotation from the Western front. We did see Eccentric make that long rotation as well, and have now finally moved on towards getting themselves in the comfort of the zone slowly but surely. Will they be able to get a compound? We shall have to keep an eye out for that. On the other side, this is where the first blood was drawn. This is the team against whom the first blood was drawn, and that too was Rafat being brought on down to his knees, and this was Gremlin Storm, who have of course gotten a 3-man army for now as they make that rotation. It is going to be a tricky affair as they try and push on against the players of Bad Intentions on the run, pretty much on the other tangent, coming back to the players of Final Cut. Now this team has been playing a bit on the passive side. I mean, we saw them, they had a perfect spot on the players of T-Rex as well. As they moved on away from that fight, they had another perfect situation, and they could have taken on the players of GR as well, but eventually this team has just moved away from those sort of fights, simply put, for the moment. Final Cut taking that passive approach. It's certainly working for them because they are, of course, alive and are moving along, but as they do so, this is only going to be a matter of time before they're going to be caught off guard, and it is now Zap Canavar on our screens who have found themselves very close to the shelter. And in the shelter itself, I mean, there were a couple of teams who were actually down into the shelter region itself, and when it comes to Zap, they are absolutely out in the open. At the edge of the zone is what they find themselves, and in doing so, will there be a third party? As the minimap clearly does showcase that there are teams right around the corner for Zap, but for now, it seems like the contestation has not been made against them.
You remember Zap Canavar's fight against TRZ in the last match of Erangel. That was just phenomenally well, and the sort of momentum and the confidence that they have taken, it seemed that they are going for some good rotation, but certainly not the start that GS Legends player have a hope for, since Manush and Exorcist have been taken care of. You remember also that Exorcist was the first blood drawn around the area of the southern side of school, where it was an early dealt, an early blow that was brought to him. But till now, the two players have done pretty well in terms of the kill that they have secured, and also the point system that they carry forward, because at the end of the day, it's all total points. Whichever way they come, be it with the kill, be it with the placement points, it's all what you want, because at the end of the day, top 11s will be qualifying. But before that happens, it is going to be 7 Cs with that fan out approach. They're coming close to the area of Martyrs EPSILONes are positioning themselves, and I can already hear the gunshots coming in. That means it is going to be Eccentric Infinity, and till now we haven't seen any head-to-head fight. It was some teams that could have taken the fight. I'm talking about obviously Final Cut Esports, but they just averted that fight at moment. But as soon as the circle gets smaller and smaller, the fight is inevitable.
It most certainly is, because after all, there are still 14 teams. All 14 teams that jumped into the map of Erangel are still remaining alive 16 minutes into the game. Yeah. And now finally, as we move on away from the 4th into the 5th zone in the next 40 seconds, this is where the game itself is going to be forcing these teams to take on a fight, and that is what T-Rex is absolutely prepping themselves for as they make that rotation towards, of course, the other region. They find themselves against the players of Final Cut. Final Cut has been part of so many individual fights, but they just somehow are able to keep their legs on strong and move on across from one position to the next, and in doing so, it seems like the rotation has worked against Final Cut's player as he has been caught off guard, and it is going to be a kill probably confirmed for the side of T-Rex as they made that rotation into the zone they find themselves. But eventually, when it comes to the comfort of the compound, it's not going to be an easy task. Eccentric is the one who takes that kill from the side of Final Cut. On the other tangent, we are also looking at, of course, Zap Canavar being a part of the fight against the players of Sinner for now.
Exactly, and Godfather is the one that has gone down. It is all of a sudden it's looking like a haywire situation, as now God's Rewan will be also coming into zone. For the moment, it is with the place where they are holding all those hut and all those upper side of hut that we get to see around there of Milta. But Zap Kanawar again coming in, and they are cutting off the rotation of Sinner Esports, and certainly not looking good for them. And two T-Rex players are pinged down. It is Senior at your TV screen that is in the small shack. The rest of the players are in those center line compounds, but it is one team that is in the closer proximity. That means the breathing space is not enough to do so. But bad intentions in all this fight are pretty much close in the crosshair where God's Reborn are actually positioned. And if God's Reborn check their back, check their left hand side, it can be bad intentions that can really have a tough day ahead as we get towards the fourth circle. And in a moment or so, we can get to see the fifth shift. And I guess it is the moment at that point where GR Esports, after getting 2 kills, maybe look up to go for that aggressive approach or maybe go for those circle rotation. But for the moment, it seems that they are happily living on the edge of the circle.
Well, they most certainly are. We still have 14 teams alive as we move on down to the 18-minute marker. The fights are continuing on from one side to the next. It is going to be the kill feed who is finally moving on along with so many kills, and in doing so, Sinner Esports find themselves exiting the lobby with of course, the first team to be sent back in the lobby indeed at the 18-minute marker. Now, this is when things are going to get a bit tricky for the teams that are remaining, because this is the fourth zone, and moving on along, it is not going to be an easy task. Making rotations is not going to be an easy task, and that is exactly what is happening to the side of Eccentric as GS come in alive.
Exactly, GS Legend. I mean, continuously they are just pinning down the players, and Eccentric Infinity seem that they might face the day end, and the sun will rise again if they are just trying to make a comeback. If they try to make a comeback, else it will be a Tata bye-bye for themselves. But for the moment, it's going to be T-Rex that have made a lot of sounds in the sound cues. But apart from all these fights, the players are knowing that the other opponents have positioned themselves, but they are just averting the fights because it's still the early stage of the game in terms of the teams that are still surviving. But it is not going to be an easy task for Eccentric to survive, as GS Legends are really making it difficult. We can see TE Kit and also Death along with both the players have pinned down Naeem the Smoke Cloud, and as soon as Smoke Cloud dissipates, it is going to be a day end for him, as now Zap Kanawar will be also pinning him down. So I'll be looking up to which team is going to get that kill secured. Is it going to be Zap Kanawar or is it going to be GS Legend? But as far as the positioning of Zap Kanawar is concerned, as far as the circle is there, it is going to be an okay thing. But all the 4 players in that small visit tower, I guess there is not much of space. But now bad intentions onto Koa. That knock has got him down. And 2 big Goliaths, 2 big team. #1 versus #2 is going on, ladies and gentlemen. This is all coming into the 20th minute. And when bad intentions are pushing onto the players of God's Reborn, they are making sure that they will be hitting with the hardest pin onto their head.
They most certainly are, and they most certainly are moving on along with a lot of perfect synergistic plays indeed. And in doing so, it is going to be Winter who finds himself with only a sliver of an HP, and is going to have to get himself a little bit of a help from his teammate, because he does not have a first aid kit onto himself apart from the bandages. On the other tangent, Stalker is the one who is slowly but surely trying to break onto the fight and is going to try and confirm that into a kill. For now, of course, they were able to get 2 knocks for themselves against the players of course, GR Esports. Eventually, though, the kill was not confirmed. On the other tangent, it is going to be the team of GS Legends who are taking a fight against the players of Faceoff, and eventually it is just third parties that are just completely dominating the kill feed for now.
Fallen 5 Esports on the other hand side are taking the kill, but now Black Diamonds are pinning things down for GR Esports. That means they have gotten a lot of attentions, and in all these situations, 2 killers where Fardeen stands at the moment. Grenades are incoming. That means bad intentions location has been revealed, but as soon as bad intentions moves into the zone, they will be facing a lot of trouble. As for the left hand side, it is going to be T-Rex Skeleton, and they will be trying to starve out all the muscles, all the flesh out of the skin, and he just the skeleton in order to not survive for the long. But Winter on the charge takes 1 knock on the player, but Stalker goes down. After 492 action as Naruto is bringing Reigning Supreme, is bringing death to the players of T-Rex Skeleton. But in this 1v1 fight, Winter just succumbed to the player, and at that point he just choked, I would say, because he should have brought the knock. He was just making too sure that he will take the TPP angle, but still it is going to be the revival time where both the teams will be buying a lot of time in all the situation. 2 players have been sent to the lobby, 4 killers where they stand, and it was certainly not an easy push that was made in desperation, rather with an intentional way.
Most certainly was, and in doing so, of course, these teams are going to now try and focus on getting that teammate revival where they do find themselves in a two-man squad. On the other tangent, when you move on along, it is going to be Black Diamond who are reigning supreme against the players of MARTYRS Epsilon. One after the other, it is going to be absolutely crazy affair. But in the kill feed, we are clearly seeing that TRC are absolutely moving in along with the flow that they have made. They are jumping into the arena against GR Esports and will be dominating against them and sending them back into the lobby. So what a spray this is turning out to be, where indeed now the conversation is going to be Gremlin Storm. What sort of a playstyle are they approaching the game with? They have no kills thus far. They still have 3 players alive. They are looking pretty much in comfortable spot when it comes to the zone itself. But when it comes to the fights, are the fights going to be favoring them? Are the pushes going to be favoring them? Because the circle seems to be just slowly and steadily moving away from all these teams.
Tough affair for both the teams from the southwestern side. Fallen Esports not getting the cover of the zone, and circle tends to shift away in these sort of circles. And since Fallen 5 Esports need to go make an entry into zone, it is not going tough affair because on the right hand side it is going to be TRZ Esports that is pretty much close towards them, and then it is going to be left hand side 7C GSM, but the fight is still far-fetched. But Bad Intentions are making sure now that with the help of utilities, since there is a lot of loss in the manpower, they are going for the utilities. And Pewdot, this one grenade, if that gets boomed, he will be boomed. And there we go. Winter on the charge brings a lot of heat onto the player, and the grenade detonated at right point. But from the backhand side, check your back, your mate. And Winter comes in from the staircase. He'll be taking care of things off. 2 players are still surviving with 6 kills, and the whole of the edge of the circle. Once they make a move entry to the zone, it is going to be from the right hand side. That is going to be obviously a Gremlin Storm that will be pinning them down. And look at this. Badrev is duly noting every side of South cues, and he knows that one team has been eliminated, and it is Bad Intention in the same compound. And as soon as Bad Intention players tries to jump out of that window or maybe try to sneak peek the situation, they will be taken care of. But on to the backhand side, it is 7 CGSM players. So 7 CGSM on to them side, they are playing a really good game. 3 players are there, no kills, but the strategies is well maneuvered. All the 3 players on 3 different directions. This is what a champion team shows to you.
Absolutely does, and in doing so, Evil Eye has been able to get 1 knock onto the players of GS indeed, and eventually he has been able to spot the other player as well, where it is none other than Death, who is just completely maneuvering away from that position. And Taquito is the one who is absolutely going to be the man who will draw a lot of attention. As he does so, Death will get a lot of information as well, and eventually it is going to be a conversation between Gremlin Storm against the players of this team, where Death completely was dominating, but of course he was not able to get any kill confirmed on the other side. Evil Eye playing his cards right has been absolutely phenomenal, and MARTYRS Epsilon now come into the action against the domination of Bad Intentions. And eventually when Bad Intentions try to make that rotation, it is not looking good, because Winter is the only man who is surviving. And when it comes to MARTYRS Epsilon, Kabir is the man of the hour who has been able to confirm just those 2 kills in a matter of seconds against Bad Intention.
TRZ Atomic coming in and jumping into the action, and for how long you are going to be stepping away from this lobby. But now it's the time that MARTYRS Epsilon is also trying to make a maneuver with the DP spray that just gets connected onto the player's head, and you see that now all of a sudden the Fallen 5 are falling things apart for them, as they are now falling like 9 pins for the moment. 3 players is what with MARTYRS Epsilon will be going towards the last zone of the circle, but slowly and steadily TRZ's players are coming in. Some grenades are being cooked onto the face of TRZ Esports, and MARTYRS Epsilon can pin them down, as TRZ Esports are not in the best of the best position. All the 4 players are stacked together, are completely together, but not together is what I would suggest, but they don't have any sort of option. Rare going down and Tommy going down, the only 2 players surviving with the help of Smoke. He tried to dodge out the brutal bullet, and now it will be a day end or so. Maybe have to still wait for that, because in same sort of situation we saw yesterday where Zap Canavar was pulling them down, it was Atomic and Mr. Rare that really showed their prowess. This time it can be again all the 3-4 players, but MARTYRS Epsilons are creating a flank angle, and just because of that Rare has gone down. Mad Cat realizing the situation, he is sneaking and hurriedly peeking away from this situation. But MARTYRS Epsilon, since they are dominating a lot in this match with 3 men going into the last circle, they are looking pretty glimmering at this moment.
Well, they most certainly are, with the 9 kills that they've been able to confirm, and still moving on ahead to take on the players of TRZ Esports. It is going to be Kabir who made that, Kabir's teammate rather, who made that push, but eventually Kabir will be brought on down, so will his teammate Ovi, and now it is all going to be falling down to Seth as to what sort of playstyle is he going to be able to create against the players of TRZ, where Mamba as well as Atomic are up on their heat, and they are going to be moving on along to take as much of the fight as they possibly can. This is the X-Factor team that we spoke about, TRZ Esports, with their teammates still reviving and surviving. They are looking absolutely in control, and on the tangent, MARTYRS Epsilon Seth is the man who is just bringing in domination against TRZ, and has been able to actually perfectly bring Mamba down as well, thus leaving only Mad Cat, who we saw earlier from TRZ Esports, made a rotation to get away from that fight, and eventually it is going to be Martyrs Epsilon left with that one player. That is going to be safe, and on the other tangent, TRZ Esports also left with just that one player, Mad Cat. And in this factor, we still do have Gremlin Storm remaining with the 3 players alive. Thus, the forecast is going to be predicting 66% advantage to this team, and now that's going to move on to almost 80% because this is a 3v1 situation.
Not easy for Mad Cat, but he is giving a very neat effort to save his team and to get that total of 15 points and also the kills, but not an easy task for him as Batam is turning up onto him. It is going to be Mad Cat that is trying to take the fight in different direction. From backhand side to go to Mad Cat, but he brings one knock onto 7C's Evil Eye, and since Evil has gone down, it is the Mad Cat that will be taken care of, and this is a chicken that 7C's GSM was really waiting for it, an awaited chicken dinner for 7C's players and the fans. And there we go, when 7C stepped right on the second day, when Group A and D are going head to head, they made sure that they are not going to do any sort of rookie, any sort of silly mistakes. When they are in the zone, when they are with the 3-man advantage, 1542 damage, they will be securing 9 kills and a total of 24 points and a big jump onto the first half of the chart at the 5th position.
Perfect play being showcased from the side of Gremlin Storm indeed, as they did play it cool and play it correct and right, and with that sort of a passive-aggressive approach that they showcased, this team has been able to accumulate across 9 kills, find themselves on the overall with the 5th position for themselves. A perfect spot and a perfect play being showcased. And finally, of course, when it comes to the fans of this team of Gremlin Storm, I'm sure they're going to be happy, because I mean, the first day that we were introduced to the team, they were not looking too good. It was, of course, GR that was absolutely reigning supreme on the first day, but eventually now this is when things have completely turned against the team of GR, and it is, well, Gremlin Storm as well as Bad Intentions, also the X Factor team, TRZ Esports. I mean, they walked away with what, 5-6 kills for themselves. So again, and along with other placement points, so it is going to be perfectly working in TRZ's favor as well. But GG play coming in from Gremlin Storm indeed.
Indeed, a good comeback, I would say, because all the PMCOs we've seen till far, it has been a game and a story and a saga of comeback. Be it with the team that is still standing on the 3rd or the 4th half of the chart, or the team that is still having the caliber but still not just able to perform to its own best, now making a comeback. GSM, I really knew it. I really didn't name it, but I was knowing that somewhere down the line, it is going to be the team that might be coming on the top 3, top 2, but certainly, surprisingly, they have something else for us.
They most certainly did. With that, let's move on with the show itself and have a look at the MVP coming in from this game. That is going to be from the side of Gremlin Storm, Evil Eye, with 5 kills and 5 assists. 736 damage is what he was able to get with only 155 healing done. So a perfect approach from the side of Evil Eye, where we did see him bring down the players of GS Legends one by one, and he was not only part of that fight but so many others, as we can see, the 5 assists also working in this dude's favor.
On 10 influence on 10 players, that's what I have to say. The 5 kills that he has been able to secure, and also the 5 assists that he has been able to give to the other teammates. Talk about Kapchi and Badrev and Rafat, the other teammates and the other guys from his team. I mean, 10 on total 10 player in this lobby, he has made that influence, and that's where the 7C's Evil Eye has been the startling performer, the X factor from 7C's, and what a meticulous gameplay for this team, and also from different teams. Talk about Martyrs. I mean, Kabir, in the last moment he fell down, but the other team itself, it was him that really brought down Mamba to its knees. You remember the spray that he gave through the smoke, the spot on technique was just the one thing that was really looking mesmeric and really took me completely by surprise. And with this, we head towards a match summary where we get to see Black Diamonds, Rochi. I mean, not a lot of things that came in this match, but certainly the longest distance kill is where Rochi features himself, and the Black Diamond team all in all featured himself in, but highest damage certainly went into the name of Kabir from the sides of Martyrs Epsilon. And we're talking about that, we move towards a match ranking where it is also, I mean, Gremlin Storm, it's okay, 24 total points, but Martyrs Epsilon, 3rd team to come into this match, but with a lot of kills and just amounting a total of 20 points.
Well, perfect play being showcased from these teams. I mean, look at the difference right there in the first page itself, from Gremlin Storm walking away with 24 points, and down to the 8th team, that is going to be Black Diamonds with 3 points. So a perfect play being showcased from these teams, but eventually when it comes to the points itself, it is the first 6 teams who have absolutely dominated in the lobby in terms of the kill department. We can clearly see Fallen 5 gotten away with 6 kills, GS got away with 6 kills, and as that journey continues on to the next page, it seems like it was only Sinner Esports that sadly were not given the opportunity to participate in the kill department eventually. But after all, final cut, T-Rex, Eccentric, Faceoff, as well as GR Esports, all of them walked away with decent amount of kills for themselves. But boy oh boy, this was what domination is called. I mean, the first two teams are absolutely destructive with the way that they have showcased. But with that, let's also recap what has happened and move on along with the Oppo F19 Pro moments.
Indeed, it is. The fight eventually started happening in the early stage of the game where there was run over, being spread down, some punches were landing onto the heads of Rafat from the sides of 7 Seas, and this was the early casualty from where 7 Seas actually recovered to an extent that they got the chicken. But that is what we'll get to see at the end of the match. But before that, there was a lot of actions as MARTYRS EPSILONes was looking absolutely fantastic with bad intentions, pinning down their own counterpart that is standing right there at the top of them. I guess after this match, bad intentions might just overpass them in terms of total points.
It might very well could be the case because GR only walked away with those 3 points for themselves. And on the other tangent, when it comes to bad intentions, I mean, they were absolutely in control of so many individual fights and did take a lot of kills. But this is when the X Factor team, that was TRZ Esports, were reigning, or rather being rained on upon from the side of MARTYRS EPSILONE. It was only Seth who was left by the end of it. But what a play and what a push that was created from the side of MARTYRS EPSILONE with those perfectly set up nades that brought TRZ down to almost their knees. But as you move on along, it is MARTYRS EPSILONE who find themselves on the first position with 73 points, and exactly the same is the case for Bad Intention. Without a chicken dinner, still they find themselves well again on the 73 point on the first, almost on the first.
They were on 3rd position from the start of the day, and we were talking about the banter between both the teams, and this came out of syllabus.
Yep, absolutely did. Again, not only that, right? We did see Bad Intention take on a fight against GR Esports as well, and eventually it was just the kind of play that was anticipated and expected, and resulted in, of course, so many of these teams walking away with quite a lot of points for themselves. Faceoff Esports on the 9th position as we move on to the 3rd page of this all-round ranking. This is where T-Rex and GS Legends find themselves, along with, of course, Sinner Esports. Now, Sinner Esports, they were not able to accumulate points for themselves from this game, but as the journey continues on, they are still part of the fight indeed, and they are going to be able to hopefully participate in those next remaining games to get some points for themselves and move away from this 3rd page on to the 2nd page. But as we continue on to the final page, now this is where we do see, well, what do we see? We see teams that are
pretty much the same.
Yeah, exactly, that are not really playing today, but of course that is what the showcase is. But we shall continue on with the journey and see if it all teams that are playing today, if they do not play it right. For example, Sinner is the closest one right now. If they do not play their cards right, they might find themselves on this 4th page of the leaderboard, but that is not going to happen because Sinner Esports have 18 points, and slowly and steadily, of course, they're going to be working towards getting a lot more points as the journey continues. And again, I mean, it's easier said than done, though. It's easier said than done. With that, we've got first game taken care of. We're going to be going on a short little break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust,
Hello and welcome to day 3 of course, PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021 Bangladesh region. All thanks to Oppo F19 Pro. We've got one game done, 3 more games remain when it comes to Group A and D. That is what we are at. And talking about the day itself, let's have a look at the schedule indeed, where we got completed with the first game of Erangel, where indeed it was none other than Gremlin Storm finally chiming in and getting their chicken dinner. But now as the conversation moves on towards Miramar, we shall see what team is going to be reigning supreme.
So Martyrs Epsilon, I have some stats for you. Martyrs Epsilon, when they played the game of Miramar eventually in the day one, the opener of the wild card, obviously this region, I mean the Bangladesh region of this PMCO, I mean they were really looking strong. They got the chicken in that match and they were really strong. But since I'm getting a lot of calls from this match, let's straight away jump into the action as the desert action is on its way, as GR Esports on our TV screens are making headway from the area of El Pozo downtown towards the area of Junkyard and Northern Dominator flight path. I mean we have seen this flight path in yesterday's game also, and I said in that again game also that it is completely impossible to jump towards the area of Los Leones, but then certain teams took that aerial route for that late flying approach. They really glided for a long time, and certain teams really took all those highways vehicle to just find themselves in the same situation. But since it is Northern Dominated flight path, I guess a lot of team will be having a lot of not a good time. I mean a lot of impediments right off the go, because Chumasera, Los Igos, Los Leones, Impalas is certainly those lookout cities that the team love to be in.
Well, that is so true indeed, but as the game continues on, as the flight continues on forward, we do see bad intentions have left the flight. We do also see Black Diamonds going on across towards that region itself, and that is where we can very well expect towards El Pozo some early contestations and some early fights in towards this game. On the other tangent, as we move our attention down towards the other team, that is going to be Eccentric going on down towards El Azhar, and towards the northern approach from El Azhar, it is going to be none other than the team of FC. That is of course going to be Final Cut, that go on to get themselves aggregated and segregated towards the northern region, and that is looking pretty good as well, because the teams are absolutely in favor as well as the circle.
Indeed, Northern Dominated flight path and the circle actually favoring them, and in doing so, it is gonna be Gotch Reborn that is still in the center. Hacienda del Petron is where they are finding their fortified area, and I guess that obviously the Golden Mirado will also be theirs for sure. But some other teams talk about obviously Gremlin Storm, that they are looting their different compounds in order to get the loot segregated. They are pretty much close to one team, I guess, that was in different colors in the same position, but it seems that the fight is pretty much not possible because the distance is much. But Gremlin Storms, what a comeback. In the first day of Club Open itself, the Bangladesh region, they were not looking strong. They will pin down. Everything was not going into the favor. But since the one game, I mean one day, it was yesterday that they had a break. Now they are starting things afresh with putting every sort of thing, bank account on their back hand side, and then just trying to move forward and starting afresh is what we are getting to see. But Bad Intentions also really had a pretty decent game. Apart from that open push that they had to make, everything was looking phenomenally well. But since the circle throws and puts advantage in one team and disadvantage in the other, it is gonna be obviously Sinners that have brought first knock of this match, and that has gone into favor. And in the name of Zap Canavar, still awaited, will that knock be converted into the kill? We'll get to see if the observer switches to it. But for the moment, Bad Intentions looting up to the crates. But obviously, we get to see the Sinners up against, and the first blood has certainly been brought down as one kill has been registered. But Godfather, he is moving with Winchester. Certainly not a gun to take the fight with, but it seems that the team is looking pretty much aggressive, because if holding a Winchester in your hand and you're still looking to aggress, rather he had that Uzi, but still in the close range, and there's 2.6 times scopes that is offered in this obviously Winchester will help him get one knock. But obviously that the bullet drop that we talk about that comes in, it is certainly not that sniper rifle, the best of the best sniper rifle. Had it been there some M24 or maybe Car 90 or maybe Mosin, things could have really turned different. But it is also a gun to actually fight off, and not really seen a lot of quick scopes apart from those Winchester shots. Exactly, but for the moment it is gonna be Sinner Esports Cops with that UMP action, and Blotter, to be honest, in every match of this PMCO, be it with the wildcard region and be it with this Bangladesh or maybe different region that we are getting to see. This UMP meta has certainly been buffed. Talk about the Thompson, talk about the UMPs. I mean, players are now really relying upon these guns. In the last update, it was where the damage that has been brought onto the head and obviously onto the chest has been increased. And just because of that, the player are now preferring onto them. I mean, talk about any team, any player. This is one good thing, one go-to gun. And since these SMGs are really on a very good spawn rate, apart from in terms of the M4s and different guns, those are on a spawn rate. SMGs are really easy to find, and since it is really to find and it's a good to and a go-to gun, it is one thing that the players keep in mind and they take the fight. I've seen a lot of game. We have also seen a lot of game together. I mean, be it with this match or be it with the different groups, the players are really relying upon all these metas. And for the moment, it seems that obviously the observers are also stuck on Sinner Esports. It's one kill that they have to secure, but they need to make sure that they move forward, and the observers also need to move forward to different teams.
Well, they most certainly will in a few minutes, hopefully. But as the game progresses on along, we are looking at well, again, a slow start for the teams. Eventually, right now, it is going to be Final Cut on our screens, and as the journey continues on, it is the moment where Final Cut find themselves on with 27 points onto the 16th position with 12 kills that they've been able to accumulate. So that is looking GG play for them. But of course, that's not going to be enough for them, because after all, it is going to have to be a lot more plays that they will have to make to participate in the finals itself, because only top 11 are going to move on forth into the finals. As we have mentioned, 5 teams have been invited already in the finals, and of course in those 5 teams we have Venom Legends, we've got AO1 Esports, we've got XP Bad Legion, INES, as well as Black Bull. So those teams being invited, thus leaving these teams that are part of the semi-finals with only 11 slots to be a part of the finals itself. And in doing so, when the teams are going to jump into that area, it is going to be very, very tricky, because the points that are being accumulated on the first page, they are quite a lot of points are being distributed amongst these teams on the first page itself, and that is something that they are going to have to be, all the teams rather in the lobby are going to have to be careful of. Right now, of course, we are today joined in with Group A and D. Tomorrow it'll be Group B and C, but as the journey continues on, all of these teams are playing for the same exact thing, which is to participate in the finals, and then from there to hopefully get the part of PMPL slot for Season 4. And that is a huge undertaking, because as we see once again, when it comes to the point structure itself, it is close, but it is massive. I mean, 16th position holder that we saw with 24 points compared to 73 points for Martyrs Epsilon on the first position, 73 points, same again for the team on the second position, that's going to be Bad Intention, 72. So again, very close factor indeed for these teams that are finding themselves on the first 5 positions. One good game and we could very well see TRZ Esports, or for that matter Gremlin Storm, climb up to the ladder. But it's easier said than done, because every single time you try and get that sort of a fight showcased, the other teams are going to be doing exactly the same thing. And therefore, me and Ankit keep on mentioning that consistency is going to be the key, and every single game that these teams participate in, they're going to have to take it by storm. They're going to have to absolutely dominate, and the domination comes not only in terms of the placement points, but the kills and the fights that you end up choosing to be a part of. As of now, of course, since we are part of the Miramar map, it is going to be just the known approach where teams are going to be segregating themselves into their known areas and are going to be trying to get the best of the best loot. And slowly but surely, as the circle moves on along from first to the second to the third zone, that is when we are going to probably anticipate fights being taken on across the board as well.
Not much of a difference if we talk about the point difference between obviously the team that is on the top, that is still leading the charge, that is going to be Martyrs Epsilon with 73 total points, and then it is going to be the same sharing point with the Bad Intentions and 1 point less. It is going to be Gremlin Storms, and all these teams are playing. And then comes TRZ, then comes MSC GSMs, IPG certainly not the part of today's gameplay. Lost LO also not, limit over, but BD, Black Diamond is one team that has now started taking all those baby steps, those initial steps. And before the start of this first match, the Erangel that we just witnessed, they were on the second half of the chart. But since some good performance has actually helped them getting close toward that 8th spot, it is certainly looking good for them. But certain teams are really fumbling down while traversing time. While trying to traverse in this tough terrain, as the Bad Intentions player are getting a lot of impediment in the situation. But in the center line of the circle, it is going to be obviously Rex, Esports that is sitting into the deathmatch center with on the backhand side. The ridge that we talk about on the western side of Hasana del Patron is in a complete control by God's Reborn, and these is an important thing. I mean, the circle shift, it's still onto the sort of tilted towards western side. That means TRZ, when they come towards and get close towards the eastern side of El Pozo, those hills that you can get to see on the western side of Black Diamonds, why not Black Diamonds get the better half of those ridges and not let TRZ Sports take control of it, rather find themselves in position. But certain teams are really looking to find themselves in the fortified area, in the fortified compound, and just because of that, it seems that now Sinners are getting the better half, as now GS Legends are pinning upon them. Some players have already lost their lives, and yes, 2 players are just remaining with Destroyer and Tomato surviving. It seems that now they are falling away. They are running for the life, and where they are heading towards, it is gonna be 2 big teams. One team that is looking kill hungry, that has been slapped in the last match, God's Reborn. They might be facing the brunt of that team.
Well, on the other tangent, it is going to be MARTYRS EPSILONes once again chiming into the region with some absolutely destructive plays, one after the other. They have been absolutely able to dominate against the players of Faceoff Esports. On the other tangent, bringing it back to the players of Sinner Esports as they were making that rotation. The legends, the GS Legends, were able to absolutely bring in some destructive blows and burst damage to the players of Sinner, thus leaving only 2-man army for the side of Sinner, where it is going to be none other than, of course, Destroyer and Tomato, who are now trying to traverse and transverse and get themselves into a decent position. But as they do so, there are going to be other teams that will maybe get the better half of them as well, because they've still not learned from their mistake, and that is making that rotation. You have to be careful as you try and get into the zone, and that, or other compounds itself, and that is what now finally is being showcased from the side of Destroyer as well as Tomato, as they try and look on before they jump into the area. But of course, that was not the best information scout, because after all, there is a team right here. Even though they might not have spotted them, there is Black Diamonds in the vicinity.
Exactly, Black Diamonds pretty much in the closer vicinity, as just perfectly mentioned. Did Black Diamonds player have actually spotted down the movement and the players that are coming in? If yes, it can be a game end for Sinners, but for the moment it is not looking good also for other teams. The Bad Intention is now trying to just hunker down the vehicle, just trying to destroy them and just not let the vehicle being used again. And just because of that, Naruto with that constant DP shot was able to bring a lot of smoke out of that vehicle, and now it is not going to be used for sure. The Bad Intentions, those ridges, those those curves are completely being utilized by all these players, with Naruto going on to charge with that DMR actions. Bad Intentions are certainly looking the good to go for the team, and we need to talk about Bad Intentions. Now, Bad Intentions in yesterday's gameplay also, when they were taking the fight, it was not an easy affair, as there was big teams. We talk about TRZ Esports, we talk about IPG, we talk about KSX. I mean, lot of team in which I just named them have a lot of experience on national level, number one. Second being the PMCOs, and some teams have really performed well in the national championship. And in that situation, Bad Intentions really have their intentions set up. Yesterday's gameplay, there was the one, and just because of that, the storyline before it started the match, it was them going head to head against God's Reborn. In the last game itself, Bad Intentions really performed well. I'm really sure that Bad Intentions must be getting closer and closer towards this match also, as now 7C's GSF holding a different sort of angle. The rock is already there. It's not absolutely a rock, it is a big mountain, and they are getting accustomed to it. They are now getting used to it, the terrain that they are finding themselves at. The players are in a split situation where we can get to see Bad Rev and obviously Evileye onto one directions, but a lot of players are having those magnifier, those scopes, from where they can actually cut off the rotation. And the best part for them is from one direction there is one big rock, one big mountain that can actually shield them away from that the peppering of grenades, or maybe leads, or maybe the 5.5 and 7.6 ammos. But it is going to be not an easy task, as God's Reborn are making slowly and slowly a push onto the players of Faceoff, and they need to make sure that it is Razor that is holding that extra point. That's what God Reborn player comes open. He did falter down, and really wanted him to take at least one more knock, because he was the one that was aware from which direction God's Reborn the players could have come. Eventually he tried to take the shot, but missed a lot in that doing so. But Sketch is trying to sketch one more victory, one more squad wipeout, as Rox is now being hounded with a lot of grenades.
Well, this is looking like a conversation that is going to be one-sided, because it is going to be Faceoff with Rox, who has tried to get away from the position, but certainly will not be allowed to run away. And in doing so, Faceoff Esports are being eliminated from the face of the map of Miramar indeed. And all thanks to GR Esports right here, who have been absolutely brilliant in terms of the way that they made this push, and have now resulted in getting the better half of those fights, with 2 points confirmed for themselves as they find themselves in the zone. zone towards Hacienda. That is looking absolutely perfect, and now they are not yet done, of course, because the journey has just started, and as they try and make that push and rotation into the zone itself, it is going to get that much more tricky, where now we see T-Rex taking a fight of their own as well, and it seems like GR are going to be the ones who they are going to be taking the fight against, and it is Reborn Esports against the side of T-Rex, and T-Rex being at a very, very far off situation in the open. This is going to be a difficult fight for both of these teams, but we shall have to see how Toto decides to take this fight and dominate against. Along with that, of course, his teammates are going to be creating a flank angle as well, and that is where we can clearly see in the minimap that his teammates are in the vehicle and are trying to, well, were trying to actually get into a little bit of a flank area to get that much more information on into the zone itself. On the other tangent, when it comes to the western front, it is being held by the team of Gremlin Storm all by themselves. The center is being held by Bad Intentions, which is going to be the team that, of course, is getting the information for T-Rex taking this fight.
They already know that it is going to be one team that is getting use of that big mountain, and this is for sure that they will take in the fight. But Sketch, what a knock! Just 2 tap shots of Mini right onto the head, and he has made sure that he will be bringing that first knock, and that's what Sketch makes up onto. Last time we saw that 1v1 fight, he also made sure that he will be taking course of the last player standing from different team that just got eliminated. In this long distant fight, he also sparkles and brings his game in his own way, and this is certainly looking good for GR Esports, and now they must be charging upon to one team, and they need to find some different route, because if they go straight onto the head, there is a lot of player that must be relying and eyeing upon onto them to take the fight, but the circle is shifting, and to shift, Bad Intentions didn't move an inch. One more shift, Bad Intentions still sitting in the center.
Well, they most certainly are. On the other side, when you talk about GR's positioning, they are going to have to make that rotation, and as they do so, they can very well find themselves against the players of Fallen 5, or for that matter, even another team that was making a rotation down from the eastern front, but eventually bringing the conversation down towards the teams themselves. Fallen 5 have found the exact same compound that we saw GR Esports in, and are now trying to get into the zone with 500 meters to go. It is not going to be an easy affair for Fallen 5 Esports, but eventually they're going to have to make that task work in their favor. On the other tangent, talk about T-Rex. This team, thankfully, has found themselves in the zone itself as the circle shifted onto itself. Now it is GR Esports who seem to have moved away from the compound and are going to be taking a fight against the players of Fallen 5 Esports, where Fallen 5, being none the wiser, are going to be at the receiving end, but the flank angle that they've been able to create, will it be enough? We see Lunez on one side, on the other tangent is going to be 47, but will it be enough? Because Cow, we can see from the side of Reborn, is making a perfect approach, but it seems like Lunez was able to spot him, but eventually will not be able to retaliate, because Cow was so much more on point and has been able to absolutely straight against the players of Fallen 5, and just a matter of seconds, 2 players from Fallen 5 have been sent back into the lobby.
Indeed it is, and Koa bringing the men in the factor and bringing that knock. Then the initial knock the team was actually seeking for. It seems that Koa will be left abandoned, as now the team have decided not only to go into zone, being the A point, being the B point, that they really had one good chance to actually get hold of most player. And third, most importantly, obviously Koa won't be given the revival, and realizing the depth of the situation, it is going to be God's Reborn that is going to make an entry in zone 8. 180 meter, it is not so much, but where they are heading towards, it is going to be GS Legend. This is also one team that really take the fight, that is really not trying to take away the fight, and this is one team that can really give a big dent onto the player. We have to still wait how the fight actually happens, because it's the edge of the circle we are positioning, but it seems that GS Legend don't have a slight test of the idea that it is going to be one team that has come in the closer vicinity, but Sketch could have done better in that spray.
Well, he most certainly could have, but on the other tangent, what they do not realize is that right in front of them, apart from GS being there, there is MARTYRS Epsilon as well, and if they are not careful, GR could be at the receiving end. On the other side, when it comes to the kill feed, we did see Bad Intentions take a fight against the players of Gremlin Storm, and were able to actually confirm that into a knock as well, but the kill was not confirmed, and rather was denied from Gremlin Storm. Eventually, as we move on into the zone, these teams right here who find themselves at the edge of the zone, it is going to be GS Legends, it is going to be MARTYRS Epsilon, as well as GR Esports, trying to take on a fight against each other. Third-party situations, very much going to be a saga that can be anticipated, as we are left with 13 teams still, and fourth circle, 19 minutes in the game, looking absolutely beautiful. Eccentric in the kill feed, showcasing some perfect sprays on the side of TRZ's Atomic, but of course the kill for now has not been confirmed. So slowly and steadily, as the circle pushes on along, this is rather forcing these teams to get into a lot of fights. And right here we also have the fourth team that is part of this entire saga. That's going to be none other than, of course, Zap Kanavar.
Zap Canavar slowly and steadily. What a name, what a fascinating name. But the fight is still not fascinating enough in order to take down the players. Yesterday, it was a fascination where we brought down the whole squad of TRZ Esports. I mean, they were looking strong at this moment, but this time it is a different team. This time it is a different sort of affair. The positioning is different and everything is different. And in all these distinctive things, it is going to be Zap Canavar that is again looking to take the fight. But unfortunately, the circle has shifted away, has tilted away from this side. And once they find themselves in the open situation, it is going to be a tough task as it is completely an open way where they are heading towards. But MARTYRS Epsilon, now they're deciding all four players. If they charges onto the player of Zap Canavar, it can be a game end. But the way Kabir is loitering around, it seems that he is waiting for the teammates or maybe going for the late rotation or maybe trying to backstab. But Sedative is creating that flank in approach. He's pretty much close towards the players of where GS Legends are actually positioned. And also, to be more precise, it is going to be MARTYRS Epsilon. But Khan solo. He is solo single-handedly holding that small little shack that can offer a lot of surprises to Kabir. But Sedative out in the open, that stint that you get to see is actually shielding him. But if grenade lofted incorrectly and lofted with a good trajectory, can create a difference out here.
Most certainly can, and right now it is going to be TRZ Mamba who are at what a play, what a perfect spray being made right there indeed onto the players of Zap Canavar as TRZ made that rotation on the other side. When it comes to these teams, Zap Canavar being so very close to the players of MARTYRS Epsilon, but eventually it is TRZ who come into the action against the players of MARTYRS indeed. And what a perfect spray is being created right here, where Zap Canavar from one side, on the other side is going to be TRZ. MARTYRS Epsilon none the wiser.
TRZ in all these fights are getting the third party situation, and in doing so, it is Wiz that has still not given the revival, and Zap Canavar on to the other side. They are going for the charge rather than going for the passive approach that they first waited, could have waited that go for the revival, but in doing so, it is going to be one team that has been completely decimated right off the go, and this is not looking good for MARTYRS Epsilon as they have now been pinned down completely with Black Diamond getting eliminated. We are just down to 10 teams and 32 players alive in all the situation. It is going to be bad intention. It is going to be 7C GSM, obviously Gremlin Storm that is looking strong at this moment with bad intentions getting more and knock onto the favor onto the players of Gremlin Storm. Kapchi is beating out slowly and steadily, and for Bad Rep it is certainly an impossible task. If he tries to come, he will be finding himself in the crosshair of Winter, and we know how sharp his obviously the precision is if we talk about the DMRs.
Absolutely, on the receiving end, it is where Gremlin Storm find themselves. From one side it is bad intention, from behind it is going to be Fallen 5, so not a good start for the side of course Gremlin Storm's action into this perfect game. It is going to be Badrev and Rafas who find themselves now all by themselves on the tangent. Talk about bad intentions, they have all 4 players alive, they've got 4 kills confirmed for themselves, and they are still not done, as we can clearly see Winter who's taken on a fight on the other tangent. His teammates are taking another fight altogether in the kill feed. We can clearly see it is going to be none other than Final Cut who was at the receiving end, and TRZ's players are absolutely pincing down the players of Final Cut as well. So a lot of third parties being showcased right here, and in doing so a lot of perfect opportunities and perfect sprays are being showcased from so many of these teams.
Zone eventually not completely but partially favoring bad intention. We just talk about that because it's just the 5 meter that they have make entry to zone, but there is no sort of risk that they can play. There is a dip, and in that dip that will invite other teams to make a push onto that side, or maybe not a push, maybe it's mid to small range fight that they are looking up to. But T-Rex Skeleton, they are being charged upon by the players of God's Reborn, and it seems that PewDot is also getting a lot of mollies as now 3 players are charging for a single player. One fight, Zero takes him down, tries to take him down, but it is going to be Sakil with that M249 action coming in, with Totter giving that sublime finish. They are looking strong at this moment, with Koa going down in the early stage of the game. It is only the 3 players on the side of God's Reborn with M249 action. He has been spotted on, has been brought down. Totter in all this fight coming into favor, and Sakil eventually has gone down, but PewDot from the back foot, from the back end side, it seems that GRX, it has been a game end for them. God's Reborn, a sad state of affairs. The push they were trying to make has been certainly being slapped by a good intent fight from the sides of T-Rex Skeleton. I mean, wonderfully executed fight.
Most certainly was. I mean, that was absolutely on point from the side of T-Rex. I mean, unanticipated is what it was when it came down to GR's position and their push, but eventually it is going to be once again bad intentions reigning supreme, taking on a fight towards the players of not only, of course, Gremlin, but eventually one by one, it is looking like all the players from bad intentions are absolutely going to be annihilating the play. But in all of this, TRZ Esports have been reigning supreme, being a part of those third parties, have been able to accumulate 10 kills for themselves already and still not done. They are just absolutely pincering down whatever team they find themselves against. And now, as Gremlin Storm find their way back into the lobby, we are left with just 4 teams remaining, where TRZ are with only 3-man squad. They are now going to be pushing on towards the players of T-Rex on the other tangent. T-Rex are going to be trying to get into the zone from one side as well. And in all of this, it is GS Legends Exorcist who finds himself all by himself, caught off guard.
Exhaust is the last player surviving. I mean, commendable job is what he has done till now, and full marks to him. Now he has been spotted down, but TRZ Mamba has taken his kill. That means T-Rex Skeleton now knows that there is certain teams onto the right-hand side, and he needs to make sure that he gets away. And just because of that, he is making some smoke path. But is it too late? Because he is running in the open. He has the smoke. He is trying to use those first aid, but for how long, that is going to be the question, because some sort of animation was in that position where he tried to throw that bandages, but there was no sort of teammate on the back of the side. But in all this situation, it is going to be T-Rex that is now charging upon to Bad Intentions, and with the help of GSM and obviously with the help of T-Rex, it seems that Bad Intentions are completely pinned down. But in all this situation, it is all of the 3 players alive from the sides of TRZ Esports. It is Mamba with 4 kills this time. He is looking completely charged up with the circle going away and favoring Rex Skeleton. Now this is looking strong, and before that, in order to counter that, he has brought the important one knock. All he just need to do is to create that flank angle, or maybe use that buggy and use the ridges, and that's what we are getting to see. But on the other side, it's going to be one more player from the sides of Naruto. Obviously, he's taking things down, and it is looking absolutely stunning for Bad Intentions too, in order to get this chicken. 2 players and 3 players still alive from the situation. Mamba takes one more knock, one more kill. That means Mamba in this match is looking gobsmackingly well. But now it is gonna be Rex Skeleton time, that he will be trying to retaliate with Bad Intentions play for now. Slowly and steadily, all the fights, all the party is being enjoyed by TRZ Esports.
They most certainly are. I mean, they're sitting at, what, 13 kills for now, and just reigning supreme on the players of Bad Intention, as well as, of course, T-Rex indeed. And doing so, T-Rex have found themselves in a bit of, well, circle working in their favor, but eventually that's all that's working in their favor, because they have lost all of their players apart from few. But on the other side, when it comes to Bad Intentions, they still have 35 meters to go to get into the comfort of the zone itself. That's easier said than done, because TRZ are absolutely in control of the way the circle is being dominated. And on the other tangent, T-Rex's final player, Fido, is going to be brought down to his knees as well. Thus remaining are only 2 teams. That is going to be TRZ Esports with the 13 kills up for themselves, 3-man army going up against the 2-man squad of Bad Intentions.
I mean, everything has been done correctly by Bad Intentions and obviously by TRZ, but it is going to be the number advantage that he will take. Atomic will pull down, but off to that buggy, it will be Atomic that will pull down, but Mamba puts the final nail in the coffin, and thus resulting TRZ Esports making a comeback. Yesterday's game, they didn't get any chicken, but this game, when they were in the game of Miramar, obviously they made sure that they only not will be getting a lot of damage, but also a kill. And right off the go, #1 is what surprises me the most. I mean, 30 total point was enough for themselves, and we saw once the overall ranking was there before this match actually started, and it was seemingly possible. And realizing the gravity of the situation, TRZ Esports just striking the blow at the right point at the right time, and thus getting the benefit of standing at the first position, where TRZ Esports were looking up to at the end of all these 6 matches. It is TRZ Esports reigning supreme at the first position.
Wow, what a perfect play it was. I mean, before the day even started, we were talking about TRZ Esports in the production side as well. It was the X-Factor team, a team to look out for, that was being showcased and highlighted in terms of the storyline that's been created. And of course, in all of that combined effort, TRZ finally find themselves on the top of the totem pole. But the journey does not end there, because after all, 2 games are still remaining, and in doing so, it has been absolutely perfect play being showcased from the side of TRZ Esports on this map of Miramar. But the journey continues on forth, the grind continues on forth, and along with that, this time around, sadly, well, GR Esports were not able to make that sort of a mark. But eventually, that is how the game is. Sometimes certain teams are absolutely going to be dominating, certain teams are not, and that is how the journey continues. But with that, let's move on to the MVP coming in from this game, and that is going to be Mamba from TRZ Esports with 6 kills, 3 assists, 885 damage, and 362 healing done. So he was part of a lot of fights But eventually, when it comes down to the team synergy and the play itself, this team walked away with a lot of kills, and of course, the points working in their favor find themselves on the first page.
Yeah, indeed. And because of that, Mamba, I mean, yesterday's Erangel was the first day where he got that most valuable player title, and this game in the second game, I mean, you just cannot take this guy away from this fight. He will take the fight, he will do everything sort of thing, and it's just a matter of a second where he will be getting things acclimated in the right spot, the right moment. And just because we get to see Atomic also chiming in, so we have been talking about this deadly duo, Atomic and Mamba. In the past, in National Championship, have done a lot of destruction, and now they are in a new ecosystem of Club Open Bangladesh region, just trying to dominate the lobby. And not only that, it is going to be match summary where we get to see Mad Cat on one poor lad chiming in with the most utilities used. We generally don't get to see most utilities used, much of utilities used to be more precise in the game of Miramar. But since it's 11, it is Mad Cat with 1083 damage dealt by Winter. He is certainly the man of the moment. Eventually, we need to talk about this. I mean, Winter, we saw that Mini 40 in his hand, and whenever these sort of deadly weapon, this sort of machinery in his hand, it is bound to happen that the highest damage will be getting in his own course. And on a certain day, if things go really right, this could have been one team that could have got the chicken, but it was this time TRZ Esports. But bad intentions, nothing to worry about. 23 total points is where these players are standing at this moment, with T-Rex 16, GS Legends 11, Gremlin Storm 8. A lot of teams that actually took the point that are still on the first half chart. That means not much for the team on the 9th to 16 to take from this.
True, so very true indeed, because after all, when it comes down to the kill department itself, the first 8 teams were so very hungry for the same. In doing so, they've been able to walk away with a lot of points working in their favor. On the other tangent, as we move on to the second page, we do see Final Cut Esports just working towards those placement points. Sadly, the kill department not working in their favor. MARTYRS Epsilon, they held their ground strong, but eventually, of course, when it came down to the push, combined effort from Zap as well as TRC resulted in MARTYRS Epsilon losing their lives one by one, and well, they only got those 2 kills combined with the placement point. 3 total points is what this team walked away with. And with that, let's of course have a look at the Oppo F19 Pro moments, where we shall be recapped with all of these incredible fights that took place. And right off the bat, this is where things started off, where it was Sanhok who were at the receiving end, and Zap tried their level best to try and dominate. And as the journey progressed on along, Faceoff against the players of GR were not able to even stand up for a few seconds, and that is the story that continued against the side of GR, of course, as they tried to take on players from Fallen 5. And this is the moment where Zap combined effort with TRZ were able to absolutely pencil down the players of MARTYRS Epsilon.
I question their movement. I really question their movement, where Wiz was knocked down, and I really wanted him to get revived first and then take the fight. But certainly my question was really answered with some really big blow that came in onto the sides of MARTYRS Epsilon. Till then, MARTYRS Epsilon was really pretty strong at that point, strong at the moment. But once they showed the back, it was Zap Canavar that was knowing that it is going to be MARTYRS Epsilon that might be indulging themselves in a fight, and taking advantage of the situation was one thing, where actually it was the team that got a good number of kills out there. But for the moment, it is going to be TRZ Esports, as we have seen in the past. 2 chicken, the only team in all the 6 matches to get 2 chicken, not back to back, but obviously in all the 6 matches, 96 points is where they are standing. But certainly bad intentions. I mean, they really have the intentions that I'm 56 total points in kill numbers. I mean, way ahead. 43 is the second last, and then it is 56. 13 total kills in more terms that they have been able to secure. The closest one is obviously the TRZ Esports with 43, still 13 kills behind them. And then it is going to be God's Reborn Esports. MARTYRS Epsilon also really have a good time, but certainly there is a dip after we get to see from bad intentions. And then it is a certain points where 78, 76, 70, where GR Esports, MARTYRS Epsilon's Gremlin Storm are sitting pretty much in the same point structure, with 55 shared by 76 GSM. And moving on to the second half of the chart is where Blotter will get us through.
Well. Again, from 9th to the 16th position, when you talk about the points itself, not a lot of things separating them, because 9th position holder Fallen 5 Esports are sitting on a comfortable spot with 15 kills, 28 placement points, thus combined 43 points is what they've got. And when it comes to the third page, this is where things start to take a different toll altogether, because now the difference is rising quite a lot. From 17th position holder, that's going to be Final Cut Esports with 31 points, to Phantom for you with 12 points. So there is a massive difference in terms of that as well. But again, I mean, Phantom for you is not going to be playing today. So let's keep our eyes out towards the teams that are playing, and that is going to be Sinner Esports. Now, Sinner Esports are slowly and steadily working on towards their efforts. Last game they walked away with 18 points is what they had in total, and this time they got that 1 point, thus giving them 19 points in total. So a lot more synergistic plays is what Sinner will have to create and make to be able to jump on into the arena of the top 11 to be a part of the finals. But again, it is just not looking too easy because the teams, they are so much in control. The top 8 teams, the top 5 teams rather, they're so much in control that they're not leaving any opportunity for chance or luck to factor in, because the skill department as well as of course the placement points, these teams are just perfectly dominating in both those terms. With that, we've got second game taken care of. We are going to be moving on along into a short little break, after which we'll be back with Sanhok map. Nice.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust, if you know what I mean. We got a good thing going.
All right, welcome back once again to PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021 Bangladesh region. All thanks to, of course, Oppo F19 Pro for making it all happen. Of course, this is day number 3 where we are introduced to these wonderful teams, those legendary teams from Group A and D as they go against each other. But the play is being made from the X Factor team, that is none other than TRZ Esports, and they are absolutely creating havoc. And now after this game, hopefully, Ankit, they will probably reach that 3-digit marker. I mean, they were what, at 96 points, I think?
Probably up somewhere down the line. I mean, the way they have actually started performing, it's just the matches that are waiting for them. I mean, point will be getting accumulated, but since the lads are in the form, they are in sublime form, prolific form, that's what I have seen. Because you remember that knock from Mamba, just we were talking about this before this break. I mean, that was just spot on, and that brought a lot of things on the back foot, and then it was an all easy. But since now Bad Intentions also need to make a comeback, it's also a team that has gotten a lot of opportunity from this match. Sanhok is going to be the one
where we will jump on into, absolutely. And this is the second last match for the day for Group A and D, and they are, of course, creating a lot of opportunities for themselves. As Ankit was just mentioning, that when it comes to Bad Intentions, they have not gotten a chicken dinner. They do not have a chicken dinner, but they are sitting on that second spot, very close to TRZ Esports indeed. And again, the conversation will be, will they be denied the chicken dinner on Sanhok? Rather, will they even be allowed to get into an opportunity to take that chicken dinner? Because on the other tangent is going to be GR Esports. When the day started off, it was Gods Reborn who were looking absolutely destructive in terms of the stats that they had showcased on day number 1. But as the day progressed on along, it has not been the case. GR Esports has been falling down and hunkering down in so many individual positions that we've seen. On the other tangent, talk about MARTYRS EPSILONes. I mean, they did not have a good game in the previous one, but overall, their gameplay has been on point, thus resulting in them also looking pretty comfortable with the points that they've been able to accumulate. But will it be enough with the likes of TRZ Esports, the X Factor team? Just every single opportunity that they get are able to just dominate. It is going to be a tough situation for these teams, I would say. But again, Ankit, I mean, if at all, apart from GR Esports, apart from Bad Intentions, apart from TRZ Esports, what other team do you think, or would you want to see be in the top 3 for Sanhok?
I mean, Fallen 5 Esports, I mean, the team that has actually been performing well, but since they have not been getting in the group, they are looking off-colored, but somewhere down the line, in patches, they have performed well. Partially, they have performed well, but not completely, and that complete consistency needs to be, even if you're not taking the kill, just be good with your placement, but just be good with your rotations, and just not find yourself in those out positions, else you will be pulled down. And since it's a game of Sanhok, we'll get to see a lot of third parties, a lot of family situation, and no doubt about that. And since it is going to be A and D playing in, I mean, Sanhok, as basic as the custom suggests, the fast-paced map that it brings with it. I mean, along with that, there is a lot of big team that will be coming in and talk about, I mean, Gods Reborn. I mean, GR Esports from Group A. The team that got the opening kicker of this region, PMCO, must be looking to make a comeback. And I'm sure that, I mean, you talked about all these teams, but I want to say, I mean, Gods Reborn Esports must be looking to get one chicken at least at this match, because 3 games, they have been silent. They have been rather kept silent. I mean, they have not been intentionally silent. They have been kept silent. And when in this game of Sanhok, it's a game of comeback. And maybe Gods Reborn. But apart from that, Fallen 5 Esports, there is one more team. I mean, T-Rex Skeleton. I mean, the team was really looking good. You remember the way we were pinning them down before this match. They were not in the group. But now, since they were positioning well, they were taking fight with big names, with big goal lines. It was 7C's GSM. It was Bad Intentions that they were taking the fight against. It is also looking so glimmering for them. I mean, I mean, things are looking pretty decent for the moment.
Most certainly are. And again, I mean, when it comes down to the placements itself, for the top 8 teams, it is looking absolutely perfect stats being showcased from one game to the next as they move on along. But eventually, it is every single game that counts. And in doing so, it is Sinner who have certainly not been up to the mark, so to say, up to the expectation. They, in the previous game also, on the map of course, Miramar, we saw them go up against the players of Zap Canavar, where they certainly tried to take on a fight, but were onslaughted and were certainly not allowed to push on away from that situation. So Sinner finds themselves on the 3rd page of the leaderboard with 18 points rather, but eventually will that be enough? Will that gameplay be enough for Sinner Esports? It is looking tough luck sort of a situation for that team, because eventually it is only going to be top 11 teams that will move on into the finals itself. This is the semi-final stage that that we're at, where all these teams have, of course, been divided into groups, but only 11 of all of them will move on for the top 11 after all the games are done. And that's, well, again, from the gameplay that has been showcased from Gremlin Storm to, of course, the side of TRZ Esports, to Bad Intentions, they're just not allowing. You talk about Bad Intentions itself, right? I mean, the only team that is dominating in terms of those skill departments. There is absolutely no team that is even close to that team's stats, and that is what is working in Bad Intentions' favor. But again, the question will remain, will they be allowed to get a chicken dinner this time around?
I mean, hope so. Hope is the only thing that we can actually rely upon onto, because at the end of the day, it's randomness that the game brings in. But I would really like to again talk about the fact that you just mentioned the kill numbers with which the Bad Intentions are standing at this moment, and just because of that, Bad Intentions are really the first contender, maybe to get a chicken or maybe a more kill deserved game, because they are still not on the top spot, because that is grabbed by someone else, and that is of TRZ Esports.
Absolutely. For now, that is certainly going to be the case. But before we can jump into the third game for the day, we are apologetic because we are going to have to take a short little break. But right after that, we will be taking you live into Sanhok map. Stick around. We're going to be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the
All right, welcome back once again to, of course, PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021 Bangladesh Region. All thanks to Oppo F19 Pro. This is day number 3, where we are, of course, being introduced to Group A and D. And when it comes to Group D, well, a destructive play is being showcased because TRZ Esports is part of that group. And as Ankit has called that again and again in the green room itself, that D group is the destructive group, the destruction, the death makers, so to say, right?
Yeah,
that brings
totally.
to the lobby indeed, and that is what they are living up to the name, absolutely, with perfect performances. On the other tangent, though, this time around we shall have to see if Bad Intentions are going to be given that opportunity to take that chicken dinner, because they have not gotten a chicken dinner thus far, but they still find themselves on the second spot. So
Yeah.
hopefully things are going to change as the day progresses on along.
Indeed it is. Ought to be. Ought to be. As you just perfectly mentioned, chicken is what they really deserve at the moment. And if they get the chicken, they will eventually be getting that lead with
Oh, yes.
what the TRZ Esports is sitting at the moment. That get the deficit, the 2-point deficit that will be getting secure for the moment. But it seems that sooner or later we'll be jumping straight into the match. And yes, it is the game of Sanhok, the third game of the day, where the flight path is already on its way from the backside side of the Camp Alpha Island. It is downtown towards the area of Lakawi, a completely northern-dominated flight path. But apart from this flight path, each and every team will be easily gliding towards their favorite drop location. Eventually, if team loves to go towards the Shami, it is just the place where seems it's unglidable, and not a lot of team loves to go towards the Shami. In this past, we have seen, just the 1 or 2 teams have gone down to the Shami, and there is a lot of the city. Talk about Khao, talk about Tatmong, Wangnai, Camp Bravo, that is completely left open. If you remember, in yesterday's gameplay, Camp Bravo and Camp Charlie was completely vacant. And obviously the Camp Alpha Island also. But this time it is going to be TRZ RA getting hold of Hatin. That means some sort of different drop location is what we are expecting and getting to see, with boot camp getting controlled by GSM. It is pretty much looking good for the moment. And we were talking about Shami. It is seemingly that Zap Canavar will be having a long aerial route, but on the other hand side, it is going to be Sinner's Godfather. He is the Godfather, but he is not really sealing his fate. It seems that he might go down at any moment, and he has been brought down to 20 HP. And these are the early fights that is erupting between 2 teams that are still sitting down on the chart.
Well, it is going to be none other than Final Cut Esports, who seem to be reigning supreme once again. Sinner Esports at the receiving end. We were talking about how Sinner Esports do need to do better, as they are sitting on the 3rd page of the overall ranking with 18 points to themselves. That is not working in that team's favor. Eventually, again, when you talk about Final Cut, this has made it into a conversation where this team can very well walk away with kills for themselves. But it seems like Tomato on the other side, from the side of Sinner, is also receiving quite a lot of damage itself, and it is going to be Final Cut's players gone who's going to be moving on along to take those points. As of now, the kill has not been confirmed, but certainly a lot of damage has been dished out, and in doing so, it is going to be the players of course, FC that will push on along the players of Sinner. And finally, Godfather tries to take on down, will certainly be able to do so, but eventually it is going to be Godfather who will get the better half of that fight. FC have lost, or not lost necessarily, but of course have been brought down because 2 of their players are knocked. But eventually Tomato tries to retaliate that onslaught from the side of Final Cut, and it is now a conversation for Viper and of course Shy to try and dish this damage towards the team of Sinner. Sinner trying their level best, of course, have not been able to get that kill confirmed, but it is Final Cut who seem to be looking better. But Sinner's Cop, being the one who is pushing on along with a flank angle, might be the one who might get us X Factor, and that X Factor has walked away because 2 players, Viper along with his teammate Shai, has moved on along, and the Shot and Viper are just completely decimating Sinner one by one and resulting in kills being confirmed for themselves.
Tomato was the one that actually acted as a savior, but for how long, that is going to be the question, as now they are charging up onto the players of Tomato. But since now Tomato has gone down, everything rests upon to the Sinner, as we just got to see God's Reborn chiming into the frame. And it is one thing that Final Cut Esports need to take care of, because as soon as the fight might end, or maybe before that, God's Reborn can just come in. We were talking about third parties just in the 3-minute 19-second mark. The third party is on, and none other than God's Reborn, the team that we were looking at, the team that we were preempting about, that might get a chicken, since chicken is far-fetched because it's still 14 players alive, but the intent is shown right off the go.
Well, it certainly has been, and in doing so, it is Final Cut who have been able to get 2 kills confirmed for themselves. And now finally, as they push on along to the player Destroyer right there, who has also been brought down thanks to, of course, shot right there from the side of Final Cut, eventually confirming, not confirming that kill, but the knock certainly being given away. On the other tangent now, it is going to be GR who will try and maybe push on along to take this fight for themselves. Godfather from the side of Sinner has been able to swim away rather, from this entire region, and in doing so has, of course, been able to keep the opportunity for the team of Sinner to get that, at least that placement point that they can work towards. And in doing that, it is Final Cut who will only be given the 2 points for now, as Godfather tries to walk on water. It is looking pretty interesting how he's able to do that.
The magician.
A magician certainly just doing what he does best, but sadly will not be allowed to take the revival of his teammate, and thus will be the only man remaining. On the other tangent, it is going to be GR who tried to reign in supreme, but Faceoff got the better half of GR's positioning, and third parties is what this game is turning out to be.
I mean, one team trying to third party and eventually landing in a spot where they're eventually third partying, with Koa getting lost in the early stage of the game. Certainly not looking good for GR Esports and not what they have preempted, expected. But since Tortar is completely in a position where he just cannot fall away from situations, he's looking to take up the fight. And Final Cut Esports, they are pushing, but Tortar has bring the first off. That means at any point, Viper can come on the crosshair, and if it does, it seems that it can be a game end for the players. But Tortar's location has been revealed. If the revival gets done, and if the player gets all the thing done, okay, Viper also goes down. The player has been given the revival, but it seems they don't have any sort of first aid. Everything looking not good. Eventually it will Tortar that is reigning supreme in all situations. One more revival. Will it be enough? Will it be enough? Is there enough of time for them to actually not let Tortar go revival? Tortar, one more knock. He is decimating. He's completely decimating the team. But finally, with one knock, the important knock that Final Cut was facing, confused comes in, and with that knock, he makes sure that Tortar will be completely finished off, and some different fight in which Sketch is going on. He is also the one that will be punishing. I mean, the players, those who are giving the revival, they are facing the brunt of the onslaught.
Well, they most certainly are, and Sketch right here trying to push on along to the players. Of course, Faceoff, and it is just a one-man army of Faceoff. That was Roger right there, but eventually, of course, he will also not be able to retaliate against the push that was created from GR. In doing so, Sketch is the only man surviving. Yes, 3 kills were confirmed, but his 3 teammates have also been lost to the cause. So again, not a decent outing for GR Esports. In the first day, that was day number 1 of PMCO, GR were reigning supreme, but this time around, it seems like they are being brought down to their knees again and again. In the previous game also, they did not have a decent outing. This time around, they have been a part of the fight, but that fight has resulted in them losing 3 players, along with which they walk away with 3 points. So a bargain, but not the kind of bargain that GR anticipated. As we move on into the 7-minute marker, that is the case that is being showcased on this map of Sanhok. Third parties all across the board. And as the journey continues, as we move on towards Tampong, we do have the team of Zap Kanawar, who is all by themselves, getting themselves aggregated with a lot of loot that they've been able to accumulate, and now first sharing is caring sort of an approach being showcased from the teammates, and they are going to be building this opportunity for themselves. For now, they do find themselves in the comfort of the zone as well. And talking about the zone, it is so very interesting because the zone goes on down towards the western front, and it is going to be completely dominating the team of TRZ as they find themselves pretty much in the center. But we shall have to see if the zone actually pushes on down towards that island or not.
And also the Fallen 5 Esports, I mean, talk about this team. They are on the western side of Hathin area, and obviously the shoreline areas, and if the circle again keeps constricting on the same area, this is also a point, this is also a moment that they can get the bitter half of it onto the other hand side. It is going to be eccentric infinity with a long rotation coming in with the obviously Martyrs Epsilon still in the blue. They are facing the brunt of it, but it seems that now God's Reborn, last place surviving Sketch, might dent obviously Final Cut Esports from the backhand side, and he might look to take them down, as now Sinner's Godfather is still surviving. So in early stage of the game, as the custom suggests, we are getting to see a lot of fight, and with the central shift now slowly and steadily, the Camp Alpha Island will be in contestation. And talking about Camp Alpha, it is TRZ, it is Fallen 5 that they jump regularly on the same spot, and just because of that they have a really good try again for one chicken, but bad intentions. I mean, what sort of route are they going to be taking? I mean, they really have a bridge. Will they take the bridge, or they take the water rotation, the stream area that they need to cross in order to swim the stream, and then they try to make an entry? But that is going to be a trickier one, because the shore side is completely occupied by the split position by 7C's GSM, but some more late rotations are coming in from the backhand side. That is going to be of Black Diamond. So all the teams that are looking to go into zone into the Camp Alpha Island need to make sure that Black Diamond don't backstab them onto the other hand side. It is going to be sort of successful rotation, I would say, for the side of VANGCHUR Esports, until and unless they are spotted by 7Cs that are just waiting on the edge on the shore to fish them out.
Well, talk about late rotation. I mean, MARTYRS Epsilon onto the eastern front of the game, of the map itself, find themselves now making that rotation. A really late rotation is what this team is trying to bring into the conversation. Along with that, as the journey progresses on along, as the game progresses on along, we are looking at the second airdrop being brought on, which is of course going to be MK14 along with a level 3 kit. That is going to be absolutely tactile, perfect approach for a lucky team that will be able to get their hands on it. But on the other tangent, talk about Eccentric, who are making a rotation from the northern side, are in the water, are going to be making a rotation through the water, but all 4 players in the same exact boat, and this is where things can get tricky for them if they are not careful, because they are certainly going to be trying to get into the comfort of the zone. But will it be enough? As they do so, as they make themselves comfortable in the zone, will the other teams, the opponent teams, allow them to actually come onto the island itself? That is where things are going to get that much more trickier for the side of Eccentric. But on the other tangent, onto the comfort of the zone itself, we do find GS Legends players. Right here we do have Homage, who is not looking good when it comes down to, of course, his utilities. As far as, of course, the first aid kit and the bandages were concerned, he had none, and that is something that he's going to have to certainly try and get on top of as soon as possible, because in just a few more moments the fights are going to start taking on, and this is when the all-out war sort of approach is going to be showcased from Group A and D teams. Right here we do have, of course, 13 teams surviving, as 14 in total dropped on down. The first team that was lost, of course, was the side of Faceoff, as we can see. But in the other tangent, it is GR Esports, God's Reborn Esports, who have also not had a good start. Same, of course, can be said for the side of Sinner Esports as well, because both those teams find themselves with just a one-man squad for the moment. And as the journey continues and progresses on along, this is turning into a stalemate sort of a situation, where we shall see which teams are the ones who will find each other to get into some contestation, to get into some fights, and showcase that sort of a destructive, aggressive play that me and Ankit have been talking about from these teams.
Indeed, it is GS Legend pretty much in the sublime form that we talk about. They are looking pretty much settled at this moment, with all the 4 players split in different compounds. They really have a good angle if we just talk about the thing that the scouting area that we talk about. But for the moment, it is Exorcist, the guy that actually lost the life in the last game in the very early stage of the game, is the one that is on the flank angle, with the Black Diamonds Buppy pretty much close in the same vicinity. It seems that it can be a gatekeep situation, because Black Diamonds need to go into the zone, and it is the only route that they will be following, and that will bring them closer and closer towards GS Legend. Will GS Legend retaliate or not? That's still a thing that needs to be answered, but Black Diamonds will need to actually have a safe passage in order to go into the zone. But Camp Alpha is where obviously Fallen 5 Esports complete roster and squad is there, with Darkfire one angle and Lune is different angle, Pain Noob and Zeusop in the center lines, and checking the backhand side, it is looking pretty good at this moment. And they didn't have to move an inch, because since the circle is completely constricting on the Camp Alpha Island again and again, one more shift, if this goes in the way, they really have a good chance. And before this match actually started, we talked about Fallen 5 Esports that can actually get closer and closer to the chicken, or maybe take that. They really have a good chance, because since the Camp Alpha Island is there and they have been jumping towards the same location for again and again, time and again, I mean, they really have a good decision. They really have a good angle from where they can take the fight if gets erupted, but from different directions the player are approaching slowly and steadily, and in that situation TRZ Esports, this fanned out approach might just backstab them, because Mamba is pretty much close to where Fallen 5 Esports are present, and Mad Cat is completely miles apart. Miles apart is where we get to see, but GS Legend, the rotation that we were talking about, has certainly been caught off.
Well, Black Diamond, as you were talking about it, trying to get into the zone, they have been caught off guard thanks to GS Legends' approach and play, and this has resulted in a perfect knock and confirmed kill for the side of GS Legends against the players of Black Diamond. And in doing so, GS Legends also do need to transverse 230 meters plus to get into the comfort of the zone themselves, and that is something that they're going to have to do out in the open now. To giving away the information to the players of Black Diamond is going to be a tricky affair for GS Legends, because if Black Diamond decide to do so, they can very well retaliate and make it really difficult for GS Legends to make that approach count. But on the other side of the map altogether, we do have Gremlin Storm's players taking on the players of Bad Intentions. A knock was certainly being brought on the side of Gremlin for Bad Intentions, but a kill for now has not been confirmed. With that, the third airdrop is what we were being showcased right there, looking absolutely perfect when it came down to the approach in towards this game. But which team is going to be allowed to participate on towards that tangent, we shall have to see. But with that, coming back to the conversation about Black Diamond, well, two players have already made a rotation through the water and are going to be getting into the comfort of the zone, will find themselves rather in the comfort of the zone. On the other tangent, a fight that is breaking out to another part of the map altogether is between Bad Intentions and Gremlin Storm, and it is a yin and yang situation between those two, because it is going to be, well, traded knocks being showcased from both those sides. But for now, of course, we are not really being showcased as to what that fight is turning out to or where exactly is it. For now, the information is only being relayed through the kill feed, and that clearly tells us that the knocks were confirmed from both the sides, from Gremlin Storm as well as, of course, Bad Intentions.
Indeed, it is. The knocks are being confirmed slowly and steady, and the fights are also moving in. But till now, it has been a different sort of obviously the Sanhok that we are getting to see in the early stage of the game. There were a sort of third-party situation, but apart from that, there is no head-to-head fight. As now, Gremlin Storm is also playing it so cautiously. They are being watchful. They have actually spotted down the players, and it is going to be of Bad Intentions. But is the courage enough for them side? We have seen Gremlin Storm taking the fight in the game of Erangel. They took the fight. They won the chicken, but that was certainly on a passive side. But when they come and head into the way of obviously Sanhok, you just cannot be on a passive side. You need to take the fight, else you will taken care of. And in that, it is going to be GS Legends that has taken care of other teams, and one kill is where they stand at the moment. They are also trying to gatekeep the situation with one team that is coming in from the southern side. I guess it is obviously going to be of T-Rex Skeleton in that purple marker, and it is not going to be an easy task for obviously a lot of teams that are still on the Camp Charlie Island. I mean, it's the only way they can cross the stream of water or die in the open. They can take the ridge, they can take the bridge that connects Camp Alpha and Charlie. Other than that, if Bad Intentions get first their hand on the shores, they are the one that will be taking the fish away from this water. In that situation, they will succumb to pressure.
Well, talk about MARTYRS EPSILONes rotation coming in from the northern side, as we can see on the minimap. Absolutely brutal journey is what that team has been able to create and take, but eventually they do find themselves in towards, or rather outside the blue zone itself, and that is going to be working for them. But eventually, as the journey continues on, we are looking at GS Legends players right here who are also going to be finding themselves in the comfort of the zone. But eventually, again, it is going to be none other than the team of Zapkanavar, who seems to have brought that onslaught against the players of Black Diamond, and Black Diamond, being none the wiser, are being knocked off and caught off guard by one. Eventually, the nade parade that has been showcased on the side of Sedative will give a little bit of damage to the players of Black Diamond 1v4, but eventually a kill will not be confirmed for now as this fight progresses on along. It is a 4v2 sort of a situation from the looks of it, but we shall have to see if Zap or Black Diamonds will be able to get a kill confirmed for themselves.
Indeed, it is. The fight is still on, and Zapkanavar again trying to pin down the player, but on different direction. It is gonna be Rex Skeleton that are now being not allowed rather to make and move into the zone, and this is not an easy task for also other team, as now Zapkanavar just trying to go into the zone, and they are slowly and steadily moving and making an entry into the zone, but from different direction. Bad Intentions are going down, and now 7C's GSM are jumping into the fight with TRZ Mamba getting hold of different players. It is all of a sudden the match is exploding, and the kill feed has started to dance, and in this situation it is going to be a lot impediment and roadblock that can be created with Mr. Rare coming to the fight and taking down the MARTYRS EPSILONes player. Kabir Saf has fallen down. It is just the moment of a time that the last player can be finished, and already one kill have been secured with all the players from the side of TRZ Esports looking strong at the moment with those grenades lobbed in perfectly. It is just a moment of a time, where Mamba will be sitting patiently and will be finishing things off in style, as now the blue lose will also be denting them and biting them with a brute force. But Mamba, seems with the help of vehicle, he might fall himself away from the situation, but Mr. Rare has been deployed in order to not let all those players come alive out of the dead zone.
Well, Martyrs Epsilon are the ones that we're talking about, and it is the Martyrs Epsilon's team who is absolutely being brutal to the players of course, TRZ right there we clearly saw, but it was domination from the side of TRZ. Mamba, who was able to absolutely stop in that rotation track and was able to bring an onslaught to the players of Martyrs Epsilon, thus resulting in Martyrs Epsilon being the team that has been sent back into the lobby from that fight. Eventually, again, TRZ are going to be able to get out of that tricky situation and get themselves in the comfort of the zone. Other tangent on the map is going to be Gremlin Storm's team. This team has been trying their level best to put a foothold into the entire undertaking, but it is certainly not turning out to be an easy task. But we shall have to see what sort of a play and what sort of a play style will this team be creating.
Exactly. As for the moment, it is going to be GS Legends that are caught in the open. They are on the shoreline side. They tried to pull down the player from that backhand side when T-Rex was trying to come in, and with that, there we go, T-Rex eliminated with now TRZ Mad Cat pulling a gun onto the players of 7C's GSM. It is also not looking good as now Evil has gone down, and all of a sudden it is again looking like that TRZ has gained the momentum from the past, and they are looking pretty damn strong at this moment. With Zap Canavar coming in, it is also looking pretty detrimental for teams like Black Diamond, and they are falling short of 7C's. GSM Evil Eye has been finished off. That means more and more kills are getting secured in names of TRZ Esports and Gremlin Storm, even if they have lost one player, but they are looking to take up the fight. And yep, that crosshair was completely set up onto the head of Omanoush, and he will also be losing his life, as now with 2 kills with 100 meter to make an entry into zone, it is not going to be a tough task for them. But TRZ Esports are sitting right there on their head, with Bad Intentions also making to come back into the zone. If Bad Ref decides to gatekeep the situation, it will be a big dent on Bad Intentions.
But most certainly it seems to be the case, and cause being created from the side of Gremlin Storm, eventually again bringing the conversation down towards TRZ Esports, as Ankit was mentioning. What a team, what a play this team ends up creating. I mean, 6 kills is what this team has already been able to confirm. They were the ones who sent Martyrs Epsilon back into the lobby with the perfect sprays, and of course just hunkering them down on the tangent. Gremlin Storm are the ones who are reigning supreme against the players of Zap Canavar right there, and was able to absolutely destructively bring him down as well. And talk about Bad Intentions. I mean, Bad Intentions are definitely trying their level best to get into the zone. It is Gremlin Storm's team that is not allowing them to do so. But Gremlin Storm, I mean, this team has a very spread out, fanned out approach that they are creating in this fight, where indeed we are talking about Kopshi taking a fight against the players of Zap. On the other tangent, his teammates are being completely annihilating against the rotation of Bad Intentions. So Gremlin Storm is kind of stretched out thin in terms of the fights that they are trying to create, but will it be enough for this team to walk away? Because after all, when it comes down to the players themselves, we can clearly see that Kopshi and Rafat are the only 2 players remaining. With 6 kills that they've been able to confirm, there's a lot that they have to let go of as well, because 2 players they've already lost.
Indeed, it is 2 players on the loss, and they have secured 6 kills. 6 kills, that is a decent amount of strategies have been thrown down to this match. And with this, GS Legend has also been sent to the lobby, with TRZ Esports sitting right there on their head. I've been constantly mentioning that they are getting the better half of that big rock, that big cliff, and that certainly gets them in a big advantage situation, because you just cannot take this advantage away, that TRZ Esports are getting favor of it. But for that to achieve, they have inched miles above. They have actually stalked and get on that ladder of success, and now slowly and steadily the lobby is getting smaller and smaller, as only the 6 teams surviving, with Zap Canavar also leaving the lobby. It is gonna be a day end maybe for this eccentric Infinity if the player from the sides of TRZ and Fallen 5 tries to eliminate them. Eventually it is a play zone that is taking down Loki, and Naeem rather deciding to heal himself off and trying to get more and more placement point. Mr. Rare is in a different sort of approach, a different direction, in a different angle, where he won't be allowing one player, at least any player from that position, to come in. But it is gonna be Fallen 5 that is sitting right there on the roots of that rock, and at that position the grenade can only do the business. I mean, there is no sort of angle that can be created if he tries to spray him down. But it is for a sure thing that eccentric Infinity will be leaving the lobby, and that has resulted them in a bye-bye for the time. They have gotten some decent placement points, but it is certainly looking good for TRZ Esports, with zone going away from that side. I guess before they find themselves away from this altitude, it is the moment that they will be taking more and more players down. And just because of that, Kapchi has been spotted down. Spray is going in, but in different direction, thanks to the smoke that has been deployed at the right point.
Absolutely. Atomic certainly does know that there is a team trying to make a rotation through that smoke, but eventually, of course, he does not have the entire story to the way that that rotation is being created from the side of course Gremlin Storm. Eventually, slowly and steadily, they will try and get themselves into the comfort of the zone. Same can be said of Bad Intentions, final player Naruto as well. But TRZ, they are trying to gatekeep so many teams right here. They themselves are absolutely outside the zone, but they do know that right below them is going to be the players of Fallen 5, and they are just absolutely not going to allow the team to hunker down and get themselves in the comfort of the zone. Eventually, it is going to be TRZ that is moving on, reigning supreme with 8 kills already been confirmed and still not, well, still not done and still moving on to the combat attack. But in that, Fallen 5 getting so close, Pain Noob just absolutely decimating rounds and still going to be able to confirm that into a kill for himself with that 2 kills confirmed for the side of Pain Noob, Fallen 5, and those are the perfect sprays that have resulted in, of course, Pain Noob being the only one who is left from his teammate.
TRZ completely annihilated thanks to that onslaught that has come in from the sides of Rafat, and with a collective effort, with Bad Intentions, Naruto, you really need to comment this guy. The way he has actually held himself in that position, in that extreme position, it was looking that it could have been a day end, but in this fight, it is going to be 2v1v1 affair, certainly going into the numbers favor, but one player has been brought with Kapchi using that grenade to its perfection. He is really looking detrimental at this moment, and the circle is also favoring them in terms of the total distance. He just need to travel 14 meters. But Zeus OP is being deployed to certain lines just in order to get that more and more info, because he at any point in time he just cannot be revived, and since he has been finished off, Pain Noob knows that Naruto is on a different direction, is on to opposite directions, and one player that is going to be the Kapchi that is going to be left hand side, and with the elimination of Pain Noob, this is down to 1v1 affair where Kapchi is marching towards the players of Bad Intentions. Last player surviving, Naruto will be taken care of or not. We have to still wait for that. A lot of bullets have been wasted. 35 is what he's having at this moment, and at the moment or in the so he will be taken down for sure, but the fight is still going on. It's the rock that is being separating both the fight, but from back hand side, it was obviously Bad Intention, Naruto, that got the better half of it. I mean, you remember, Prod, I just saw that blue zone was actually giving a detrimental damage onto him, but it was him, Naruto. Naruto has been the man in form, the man in action. We talk about his stats, we talk about his damage. I mean, this team has been absolutely gobsmacking in terms of the performance. Splendidly well played match is what I have to say. Total of 22 points. I mean, 1,101 damage, but most importantly, now they are on the first position, trespassing TRZ Esports.
Well, finally Bad Intentions get that chicken dinner. We were talking about it, will they be allowed to do so? Will it be the case or not? Gremlin Storm were right there, were most certainly trying their level best, but eventually Bad Intentions get that chicken dinner thanks to, of course, Naruto's play. But what a destructive play that was. I mean, both of them, Gremlin Storm as well as the team of course,
Bad Intention, also TRZ. A lot of team that was actually there.
What a play, what an amazing play. And had they not done that, had the two players of individual teams, Gremlin as well as Bad Intentions, not done that, it probably could have been TRZ who would have walked away with chicken dinner for themselves.
Indeed it was, because Naruto was just passively hiding in that situation, and all the 4 players were coming in from that cliff. I was talking about that before he comes in, but before that we just missed that it was TRZ Mamba that got the MVP ranking, and just because of that we are getting him on the hashtag first position. It is the second time for this day, back to back. I mean, MVP list, he is the man of the moment. He is the man of the moment, no doubt about that.
Absolutely, that certainly is looking like to be the case. Eventually, as we move on towards the summary itself, it is going to be Bad Intentions. Stalker with the most utilities used. Mamba most certainly is the MVP with the stats that he's been able to showcase. And as the journey continues on, Bad Intentions walking away with their first chicken dinner, thus allowing them to get onto, of course, the first page on the overall ranking, or the first position in the overall ranking as well. And very close to them in terms of the point, it is going to be Gremlin Storm with 21 points as they walk away.
Yeah, Sapcanover, one more sad stage of whereas GR Esports, I mean, Gods Reborn have been certainly been shut down with the approach that they have come to this game today. 3 games back to back, they really had a very bad time. I mean, one more still game left, Erangel, that has been the strong suit for them, but certainly the 3 games has certainly not gone to the favor. And with this, we head towards the Oppo F19 Pro moments, and that will be bringing a lot of memories afresh, and that will eventually will summarize what sort of gameplay we got to see, what were the moments that we need to realize. And right off the go, 2 minute 3 seconds is where the fight actually started happening, and you remember God's Reborn Totter. I mean, he was really making it difficult. He was playing it notoriously well in terms of the knock he was taking in. Eventually, it was the player from side of Final Cut that was giving the revival, and he was playing it too cheeky. Too cheeky.
Well, he certainly was, and this is when things are turning against the favor of course, this team where GR were the ones who reigned down supreme against Faceoff. But eventually, what a massive turn of events it was for GR as well, as they were not allowed to push on along with the points that they were hoping to accumulate on the other tangent. Talk about Gremlin Storm, and this team was again and again chiming in along in terms of those fights. But eventually, as this day progressed on, this is when this team of Gremlin Storm again and again, from one team to the other, I mean, they had themselves stretched out from Zap to Bad Intentions to others. This team was absolutely everywhere. And finally, it was Kapshi versus Naruto.
Just outplayed. Kapshi outplayed. He didn't expect that the player from the Bad Intentions would go from the blues, and the rock was just enough for him to let that bullet pass and get on his back. Eventually, he will take it on for show. Bad Intentions and overall ranking is where we are heading towards. 117 total point is where Bad Intentions standing at the moment. One chicken is finally getting converted after 6 games. There was a lot of baiting slot in that chicken, but now 0 has been certainly converted into 1.
Absolutely, and on the other front, we now have to bring our eyes towards Fallen 5 Esports. I mean, this is a team that has been consistently trying to play and get their games working in their favor, but on this first page, the only team that has not gotten that chicken dinner as the journey continues on towards the next page. We are, of course, being introduced towards T-Rex as well as Faceoff and Zap, who find themselves on the 10th, 11th and 12th position, but the points are so close for T-Rex as well as Faceoff, 43, and Zap sitting on 42 points. So again, the same story continues on. Second page, the teams are so very close in terms of the points that one good game, that one final game that's remaining for the day, could maybe change the positioning of those teams.
Exactly. Senior Esports, the 3 games that they have played today have certainly not resulted in a lot of points, and because of that, since although we are getting to see that green marker instead of that name, I mean, that is there, but still not enough to find themselves on the second or the first of the chart eventually, because at the end of the day, it will be top 11 that will be qualifying for the next stage. So it will not be enough even if you are in the top 16. You have to be in the top 11, but certain teams that are still on the 25 to 29 position that are not playing the game, and once they will come into the play, we will get to see how they actually now strategize their gameplay. But certainly some teams need to find themselves away from that 17 to 24 markup. Certainly the teams are not looking strong. I talk about Senior Esports. I mean, the day has certainly not been theirs. Not even one game, not even one fight. We just talk about that. But what a game it has been for Bad Intention. Now 7 Cs GSM. The team really did falter out in the opening day of this wildcard region for Bangladesh. But the way they have made a comeback, for me, it has been a day of surprise. For me, it has been the day of action-packed matches, especially coming in for teams like TRZ. Because before this game, the team was on the first slot and a lot of changes has been happening. But where is the performance of God's Reborn? It's been certainly missing.
It's lacking. That is so very true indeed. But hopefully this small little break is going to help them recuperate with that. As I just said, it is time to go on a short little break. We'll be right back. Stick around.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust, you know what I mean. We got a good thing going. We got a good thing going on.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open Bangladesh Region 2021. All thanks to Oppo F19 Pro for making it all happen. Of course, hashtag Wook up your fun. We are being introduced with Group A and D's destructive play on this day 3. And in that doing so, it has been TRZ Esports that has been reigning supreme. But the previous game did bring in that curveball that was expected, and finally Bad Intentions have been given that one chicken dinner that they so truly deserved. But now, as the conversation moves on for the final game of the day, this is when the journeys are going to be shifting along in terms of the playstyle, and hopefully we can expect a different playstyle from the side of, well, GR Esports.
Exactly, God's Reborn really need to change the stance because the teams have now started making comeback. Talk about TRZ Esports. It was yesterday's not their gameplay. The best way that they tried to do so, they finished downtown to the line, but then when they started things off, it was a really to a blowing start. And then it was Bad Intention. It has been 7C GSM. Apart from these teams, somewhere down the line, there have been patchy performance coming in from the Martyrs Epsilon, also Rex Esports, also some other teams also. And in the last game also, it was, I guess, Fallen 5 Esports, where the Camp Alpha Island was in contestation thanks to the PUBG God that really favored obviously one team, on also not one team, two team. It was also Fallen 5 Esports. But in the last game, I mean, TRZ Esports could have done really well. I mean, all the 4 players were alive, but the onslaught that brought in, I mean, one player each from 3 different teams. Naruto from Bad Intentions, Kapchi, I guess, from the sides of some GSM, and the last player standing from one more team was in the same vicinity that brought completely the destruction onto them. It was really sad to see them going down because 4 players charging into the last circle. It was preempted to get the chicken, but this is what all the day has been. Full of surprises. Full of surprises.
Full of absolutely perfect plays being created from these teams. And eventually, again, the destruction that has been created from these teams has been absolutely perfect to be a part of. And along with that, again, when the day started off, the producers had already set up the start for TRZ Esports, a team to watch out for. And that is all exactly how the days progressed on in favor of TRZ Esports. Of course, for now, it is going to be Bad Intentions who find themselves on the top of the totem pole, on the top of the leaderboard. But eventually, when it comes down to TRZ Esports as well, that team is close. That team is really, really close. But in all of this, it was, well, Gremlin Storm's performance that resulted in them also getting into the arena. And now they are so close. They're 9 points away from getting themselves to the 3-digit marker when it comes to the, well, points itself, and they are sitting at 91 points for now. So hopefully this game they walk away with good points, get themselves the 3-digit marker, and hopefully then jump on along to get into the arena against these behemoths like TRZ Esports as well as Bad Intentions. And in all of that, hope is all that is left.
Exactly.
I mean, every single time, hope is all that is left for GR Esports to be able to bring in a decent play for them, because they were in the 70+ marker when it comes to the points, and the teams are certainly running away from them.
Exactly, but for the moment, the schedule that we just saw about, the 3 have been actually conquered by the 3 different teams. That is going to be GSM, TRZ, Bad Intentions, 1 more left. Which team is going to be getting that logo impressioned onto that map of Erangel? We have to still wait for that, and for that, we have to straight jump into the action, because the next game, the last game for the day, it is going to be for Erangel. The flight path is taking its way. It seems that from the area from the northern side of Georgiopol, it is going in downtown towards the area of Sosnova military base, completely Western dominated flight path. I mean, the circle plays it notoriously well, but till now, since the circle have been favoring all the teams, I would love to say, because in the last time we got to see a eastern sort of circle dominating in the very first game of Erangel, where it was GSM getting that chicken closer towards the area, if you remember, towards the area of Shelter and Farm and Milta, that 3 city. And then this time, maybe again it comes down to their maybe military base. If that happens, I would love to see. But Eccentric Infinity again jumping onto the area of Zerki. Not much of a team. Love to go towards the area of Zerki because it's the city that is on the extreme northwestern corner, and that offers you a lot of loot, but still not in a situation, because more often not it actually happens that the circle tends to favor the teams that jump to the same area.
Absolutely, sir. That is the case. And eventually, when you talk about the drops itself onto the military base, we are looking at Fallen 5 along with Black Diamonds right there, and TRZ going on to their known location that is going to be of Primorsk, and going to be finding themselves all alone in the area because there's absolutely no other team that is around the corner. But talking about early contestations, it is going to be the team of Faceoff Esports, as we just saw, were the ones who seem to be bringing in a little bit of a burst damage to another team, and that other team is going to be, well, we shall see what the other team is going to be, which team it was that Faceoff were trying to bring in a destructive play towards. But for now, talking about the circle itself, it has included the military base and is going to be basically down favoring the teams that are, well, so very much drawn towards the southern part of the entire map itself. On the other tangent, for eccentric esports, I mean, last time also we saw them make a really late rotation. This team from Zaki is going to have to be on the toes to get that rotation working for themselves, and this is where it seems like Sinner once again are going to be caught off guard, and it is this time T-Rex that they are going to be facing.
Indeed, it is. T-Rex not the team to actually deal off and face off in head-to-head fight in the early stage of the game. Now the grenades are being lobbed with a good trajectory, and if this get connected, could have been connected, but certainly bounced off to that wall, obviously, and not in resulting the knock that the player was actually objective for. But for the moment, it is going to be Senior that is pretty much close to where the Sins players are actually positioning, and the rotations are being completely noted down, and so has been for the sides of Destroyer. But the player don't have any sort of helmet. That means the player are indulging themselves in a fight on a very early stage, and that can be really a big dent, and it seems that the player in a better way needs to find themselves in different direction. But since Rex Esports player are from on the backhand side and they have come close, that means Destroyer have actually heard the vehicle sound, and just because of that, now he is constantly having its concentration onto the back compounds, where it is going to be STFU bot and obviously going to be a 66 Zord onto the backhand side that he needs to take care of. But Destroyer is in a position that can really create that X factor in this approach, and if not taken care of by the Rex Esports, can really big dent onto the players. But the Sinners player, I can only just see 3 players in the minimap. It's so that the pink player, the pink mark player, is slowly and steadily taking the baby steps and coming close, but he is in the open situation, and he is coming to close in. From which direction is still a question that needs to be answered. But in all this situation, it is a water city where the peace needs to be settled, but the players are looking aggressive. They are in a formation, and since Rex Esports have gotten that 2 backup coming in, it is numbers advantage that is certainly favoring Rex for the moment.
But we shall see how that favor is going to be converted into a kill or not. On the other tangent, talking about Sinner, we do see the 3 players that are on our screens, but if you look onto the minimap, there is a flank angle player as well that can be a bit of a tricky affair for T-Rex if they are not careful. For now, both these teams find themselves in a bit of a stalemate situation where they are just waiting and waiting patiently to get a little bit of a hint, get a little knock for either sides before they jump into the fight. For now, of course, it is going to be Pudu who is on our screens, and the dude knows exactly where his opponent is, and he is just being absolutely quiet and resilient in terms of how he decides to push on forth. We shall have to wait and see, but eventually, for the moment, it is going to be Sinner's Destroyer who has been taken on down, and this is the moment that T-Rex was waiting for, and finally, the move is going to be made and created, and in doing so, it is going to be Sinner's players who are at the receiving end. Cops has also taken a lot of damage. Destroyer has already been brought down to his knees, and STFU right here bot is the man who is just absolutely relentlessly bringing on along. There was a perfect pan throw coming in from the side of Cop, but eventually that is just going to go aside from Pudu, and eventually this is the thing that Cop did not want. He has been fallen down to his knees as well, and this is looking like a fight that T-Rex are most certainly dominating. Well, not confirming a kill for now. They've been able to confirm 2 knocks for themselves, but eventually as the game progresses on along, they will be able to find their opponents and of course confirm that kill for themselves.
Indeed it is. The kill is getting secured slowly and steadily, as now the plus signs are getting into the favor, but certainly, as you just perfectly mentioned, it was a perfect slam in, and Sinners all of a sudden they need to realize that it is the moment that really need to find themselves. But Skeleton, the players are really not finding them. I mean, water is every time not a good movement. Water is the thing that actually puts you in a back foot situation, and just because of that, the players were trying to take a different sort of approach, but not what they actually wanted to do. In all the situation, Godfather, it seems that the player is surviving, but for how long, that is going to be the question, as now Rex Skeleton player are slowly and steadily marching, but some players are from the backhand side they need to take care of, as Godfather is also pulled down.
Well. I mean, I just saw a very hilarious move coming in from the side of this team of Sinner. There was a little dot, if you remember, onto the minimap that was at a perfect angle, a flank angle that was away from all these compounds. And as the fight started off, that dot, that pink dot slowly and steadily started moving away and further away and just completely let go of the team. And that is where, of course, Sinner has that one final player surviving on towards somewhere on the map itself. But of course, all by himself. We shall have to see what sort of a gameplay is he going to be able to bring, and if at all there will be any points that he'll be able to accumulate as the game progresses on along. For now, it is going to be T-Rex who have been able to get a decent start to this game, to this final game of day number 3, where indeed they have been able to accumulate 3 points for themselves.
Indeed, it is 3 points is what they are securing for the moment. A good start, a perfect start the team actually want for, and certainly not going into the favor of Sinner. Esports, they really need to buckle up their seal, but else opportunities are just slipping like sand for the moment, and the crates will be looted for the moment. I'm sure that crates won't be offering them a lot of loot because it was just the rudimentary loots on which the player was surviving. But for the moment, 3 green bars have been removed from the sides of Sinners. That means the team is not looking good, but certainly a start that Rex Skeleton is still waiting for. I really want to see where the circle will actually shift, because the circle was completely engulfing the military base island. That means the circle can anywhere go down to the side, but these sort of circle actually tends to come to the main island. But if that happens, I will really love to see how the circle is coming in, and since the observers are pretty much listening to us, we can get to see maybe again the circle one more time. Observer, please show to us.
Well, they most certainly will as soon as they get that set up, but eventually when it comes down to the zone itself, there are these 3 teams who are not finding themselves in the comfort of the zone. That is, of course, going to be Faceoff Esports, Eccentric Esports, as well as Final Cut Esports. Now, these 3 teams, I rather remember mentioning Eccentric because they had moved on down towards the northwestern side of the map towards Zarki, and that was the northernmost tip of the map itself. That is where Eccentric were, and a long rotation is what was anticipated from them. And this time around, again, they have fallen back towards a late rotation, and that has resulted in them not being a part. But it's absolutely fine as well, because this is the first circle being drawn, and that is going to be the blue zone damage. Very low for now for these teams. But eventually, as the journey continues on, we are still looking at all 14 teams still alive, and the map being brought onto our screens. We are looking at, of course, the teams who are going to be finding themselves in the center of the zone. That is going to be none other than, once again, Gremlin Storm. And right close to them is going to be MARTYRS Epsilon as well. And as the circle makes a move, it is going to allow so many of these teams to bring in that rotation from the western towards the eastern front itself, because we can clearly see that the eastern front is absolutely lacking any team's presence for now.
Exactly. Slowly and steadily, the map is finding its way onto the main island, and it is going to be obviously Black Diamonds having a very good spot at this moment, and they are holding the shoreline areas. And as soon as the circle has constricted, they are now getting closer and closer to where the main compounds, those bar houses, are actually positioned. And in this situation, it is going to be a gift if any team tries to have their hands upon it. It is going to be the Marksman 14 with 8x into it, and obviously a lot of ammos and the level 3 complete kit. You get the helmet, you get the vest, and you get the backpack, and the red smoky ash is actually coming out of it. It is going to be one team that is pretty much close, but still, which one it will be? One team that will be getting their hands upon it, but for the moment it's going to be T-Rex that are now chiming upon, and it is not looking good for Final Cut, as now they are losing up to the players. Some mini shots are also being used, but just onto that iron side. They need the scope, the guys need the scope, but without the scope, it is seeming that it is enough for T-Rex Skeleton to take down the player. From the last match itself, Lord, it seemed that now T-Rex have gone the momentum. Whatever sort of fight they are taking, they are looking in a good formation. Now one player is in that water area. He's trying to swim away from the situation, but is also seems like it's trying to create that flank angle.
It most certainly does seem to be the case, and it is going to be none other than STFU who is going on down through the water to make that rotation to convert that into a flank. But will he be allowed to do so is the conversation, because Final Cut's player, we can clearly see Dipto right here, who is also Dipto Jr. getting that flank angle, and that cover fire being created for him is going to be working in his favor. But Final Cut, for now, what they're trying to do is, of course, gatekeep this team of T-Rex, but STFU finds himself in a better half of that fight, will be able to convert that into a kill. 3 kills already for STFU, and only 1 more kill that confirmed.
Ooh.
This is going to be a very tricky situation for the side of this team, where, well, Faceoff, they tried their level best, but it is not looking good.
I told you, STFU bot is going for the flank angle. He swam actually, and just went closer to where it was going to be one more player from the sides of Final Cut that has been taken care of, but one player still survives. Viper, can he actually bite with his brute force? We have to still wait for that. Does he have that enough of poison to pull down the player? But now STFU bot, he is now just hovering his obviously that Grenade onto his face. 38 damage is what he has made to secure. But since the Hussy, obviously Viper has find himself in different directions, it is gonna be the machinery, those weapons that will be coming close into hand. But the number of grenade this lad has, I mean, that is immense. One more grenade onto his head. There we go. One more knock.
What a perfect play being created from STFU. I mean, the moment he moved away from that area and get that rotation made, he has been the clinical, precise player who has been able to just completely stop the annihilation that Final Cut were moving on along with. And from one nade to the next, to the next, to the next, he has been absolutely parading the team of Final Cut with his perfect nade parades. And eventually it is resulting in a 3v1 situation where Final Cut players are not going to be allowed to move away, and Sanhok completing the deal, going to get himself another kill. But eventually, what a perfect play this was for T-Rex, as they are sitting on 7 kills for now.
Who would you give the MVP slot in the ranking in this match? If we just talk about that, because everyone, STFU, I mean, yeah, he really played it well. But since the circle has completely shifted away, not only from STFU, but also the Rex, also Sinners, also GRs, also DRZ, it's just the certain teams that are sitting in the closer edges of the circle. It is also going to be a tough task for Bad Intentions and a long, long way. But in all these fights, it is going to be FD, that is the Faceoff ES, that are making a close in, and this is a team that has completely look off colored and not also looking influential in terms of the total point tables that they have secured for the moment. And now, since it's a big massive rotation coming in from the sides of Fallen 5 Esports, I really just forgot that this is also one team that is trying to fight out the middle. But in all the situation, it is going to be Black Diamonds that have got a better half onto the players of Martyr. But in all the situation, TRZ are making a slam in. Mad Cat onto the charge, trying to take down the Roji. With that jump, he will be taken down, and Atomic is coming in from the back different direction. But certainly TRZ Esports, I'm not loving the approach. Not loving the approach.
Well, again, I mean, quite a dynamic approach is what TRZ tried to create, but eventually in doing so, they kind of find themselves in a bit of a tricky affair where they have been brought down from one player to the next, and eventually it is Black Diamond who are the reigning ones in this entire fight. But as we talk about this fight, it is going to be Atomic who will be able to get a little bit more of an eventual damage. But again, it is GR Cow bringing in a third-party situation and going to be resulting in TRZ Esports being eliminated on the 13th spot. Now GR are going to move on along. Gods Reborn are going to try and take on that compound from the side of Black Diamonds, but we shall see what sort of a play and approach is this team going to be creating again from the open sides. This is what this team is going to be jumping in, and on the flank angle we also do see Gremlin Storm's players are around the corner.
TRZ Esports faltering down in the last game of Erangel. Will this be enough for them to still survive at the position holding that they are for now? As now GR Esports, that is Gods Reborn, that is looking strong at this moment. 4 kill is what the team is standing. But Totir, the man in the form, the X Factor, the most beloved, obviously they have a lot of fans him in his side, and just because of that, I mean, he is looking strong at this moment. With the player coming in from the backhand side, it is not going to be an easy task. And with this McLaren driving downtown towards the area, I mean, this can be an approach that needs to be averted. Else, if a spray is open onto the complete team, complete player, if the vehicle gets burst down, the player will be taken down for sure. But obviously, Fallen 5 Esports has spotted them down, and they have decided them to hold off this ridge for sure. But some shots are still being peppered down, as now Gods Reborn are falling themselves away from the situation. But Sakil, he goes down. That means Gods Reborn, one player has gone down. Will this be enough for them, as now the Empires are falling down slowly and steadily in this last game of Erangel, and all of a sudden Fallen 5 Esports just chiming in, getting more and more kills. But till now it's just the 1 kill, but the moment is just heating up. The ecosystem is just heating up. Talk about Phantom, talk about one team that was just taking the fight, Gods Reborn. Talk about just Fallen 5 Esports taking the fight. Talk about Bad Intentions, that they still have 4 men standing in this way, but they are looking pretty much strong at this moment. And how can we forget the man in action, the team in form, 7C's GSM?
Absolutely, that team is also going to be a question mark sort of an approach, that what are they going to be bringing to the table, because they still have the opportunity to get themselves onto the top. But as the journey continues on, we are looking at, of course, Zap Kanawar being pretty much in the center onto the hill. That will be certainly giving them a lot of advantage in terms of getting the information against the opponent teams. And right again, when it comes down to Fallen 5, they are making that rotation again through the players of Black Diamond. For now, Black Diamond are being very quiet, not giving away the information whatsoever at all, and GR made a very good outing out of that fight and have made a rotation down onto the other tangent altogether through the through the south of this zone itself. And as we can see, it is going to be Bad Intentions who are in a fight of their own. We shall have to see what fight are they going to be taking on and who are they going to be trying to pinch it down. Eventually, Sinner's Tomato is going to be sent back in the lobby. So Sinner being eliminated on the 12th position. We are left with 11 teams remaining, 16.5 minutes in this game.
Is it a deja vu moment? The same sort of circle we saw in the first game of Erangel when the match actually happened. It was not the circle, the initial circle, but certainly when the shift did happen, it was the same place, and this time it's also the same place where the circle is constricting in the same area, and Martyrs, the player, has been spotted down. 10 HP is what surviving. One more lead could have connected, and that could have put him down to his knees, but he was lucky enough to just survive the onslaught that was coming in. But since Gremlins have given a lot of sound cues and still not able to bring one more knock, that means Martyrs Epsilon will be pretty much cautious and watchful once they go for the rotation. And doing so, they won't be coming in from this direction. They will take some different route.
They ought to. They definitely ought to take a different route altogether. Otherwise, they will be caught off guard. And Gremlin are just waiting, eagerly, patiently waiting for Martyrs Epsilon to make that sort of a mistake. As of now, when it comes down to the zone itself, 7C Gremlin are going to be finding themselves in a very comfortable spot because there is a really beautiful play spread that they have been able to create, and they are in control of so much of this information. But as the journey continues on, as the game moves on along, T-Rex are nowhere to be seen, but they have been able to accumulate those 8 kills that they were part of in the initial few moments of the game itself. With that, Black Diamond's final player being sent back in the lobby. Fallen 5 is the one who does the deed and of course confirm the kill for himself. With that, 2 kills confirmed for Fallen 5. One of course GR Esports, and now the final one against the players of Black Diamond. So Fallen 5 also trying their level best to showcase some perfect synergistic plays for themselves, but will it be enough for this team to walk away with a chicken? That is certainly going to be an answer that perhaps Gremlin could chime in along with.
Definitely, Gremlin really have a good chance, but Fallen 5 Esports are on a roll, and they are now going to be charging onto the players of obviously one team, and that is obviously going to be of Martyrs Epsilon. But they need to realize that they are under the crosshair and a heavy cover fire from different directions. But Martyrs Epsilons, now they are going to be hounded by one squad, 4 men charging onto them. This is not going to be an easy task, as 47 just trying to lob in a grenade. 2 grenades in synchronized with, but before that happens, it will be Thor that will be taken care of, as now 47 goes down. 7C's battery takes the care of Kabir, and with all this situation, it's a complete chaos, it's a complete ruckus that is created. 1v1 fight, Rep 01 we will be taking care of, as now it was a push that came in from the sides of Fallen 5 Esports, but just went in vain, just in vain.
Well, they tried. They certainly tried. But of course, it was Martyrs Epsilon's OV as well as his teammate who were able to just bring in that damage control through the nade parade that they were able to showcase on the other tangent. Gremlin Storm have been patiently waiting to get that kill confirmed for themselves, but sadly is not the case. Talking about the circle itself, we do see Gremlin Storm on the map where they have a really flanked out approach. Rafat is the one who is going to be finding himself in the zone itself. Evil Eye going to be making rotation through towards him on the other tangent, but Rave right here on our screens is not going to allow Martyrs Epsilon to walk out of this compound easily. It is going to be OV, it is going to be Thor, the 2 players, the final 2 players remaining for the side of Martyrs Epsilon. Will they be moving away? Will they be allowed to move away? Because again, Badrev being so very patient has certainly been resulting in getting himself a point for himself, but sadly has not been allowed to do so, as Martyrs Epsilon will be able to get out of that tricky situation.
Did you just notice for the last 5 minutes, it's just only this compound and 3 teams that are fighting. Rest the lobby is completely quiet. I mean, everyone is just waiting passively, apart from the teams like GSM and Fallen 5 Esports, and one team that was in the central line of circle that was of Epsilon that was trying to take the fight. Rather, rest of the lobby is completely quiet. But as soon as we said, now they are taking the fight, as now grenades are being used, but Zapkan of our players have gone down. Look at this, Sooks is just surviving on 10 HP, and they are being pulled down by some other team that is coming in the closer vicinity. Sedative is going for the 1v1 fight against GS Legend. It's not going to be an easy task, as the players from the side of GS Legend surviving on 10 HP. They will be taken care of for sure, and 2 kills already onto them, but on the cost of 2 players being thrown to the lobby. And the best part for them is the farm area is where the circle is constricting. It's completely a deja vu moment for them. We are just heading towards the same sort of circle where we got to see in the first game of Erangel for today of this Bangladesh region, but now GR Esports, since 2 players have been sent to the lobby, it is going to be a tough chance, a tough affair, and a roadblocks that will be multiplying its own way. With Totter still alive, the team's hope is still pretty much
Possible. pretty much possible. But again, the question is going to be now as we move on with just 8 teams remaining in this lobby with 5th zone already on to them. This is going to be a key moment for, of course, these teams to be very careful as they take on those fights. Eventually, again, as we move on along, it is going to be MARTYRS Epsilon who have been caught off guard as they try to take that story against the players of Faceoff Esports, eventually leaving it down to 7 teams remaining. GR Esports' Kao and Toto are the 2-man squad who are remaining at the edge of the zone, but very close to them are going to be other teams as well, and that is going to be none other than Bad Attention for the moment, who is going to try and perhaps level the playing field against the players of GR. And the nade parade from the side of Winter is going to be so on point that Daughter is going to be brought down. Yes.
There we go. There we go. Bad Intentions getting the opening in the favor. And since they are just the 3-man roster, it is going to be a tough affair. Since they have find themselves away from all these fights, they need to make sure that it is going to be GSM. The Gremlin Storm that on the left-hand side, they're trying to hold the angle. But the kill has been secured by Bad Intentions with Fardeen holding the angle. Koa can be at any point can be pulled on with Fardeen. Some more grenades into the smoke. That was just invited. That was just invited because you try to create a smoke cloud. You try to create a bigger smoke cloud just in order to make sure that the grenade is not pretty much close towards you. And since the grenade did a detrimental damage onto him, Koa has changed his position, but certainly is pretty much anonymous in the way he has moved towards, but onto the other hand side. It is going to be obviously one team that have our eyes set upon, and that is going to be Gremlin Storm. 3 kills already onto the name. Coming in from the northern side, it is not going to be an easy task, as in the last game itself, we saw even if your numbers advantage going into the favor, at any point, if you just do one small mistake, whole complete squad will be taken over. Bad Intentions certainly looking good at this moment.
They most certainly are. On the other tangent, we do have other team. Well, Winter was able to confirm the kill of course, the final player, GR. Kao has been brought down to his knees. And on the other tangent, this is another fight that is taken on where, of course, it is going to be Faceoff Esports against the players of Eccentric. And the nade parade that has been showcased from the side of Yim as well as Alcohol is certainly working in this team's favor. And Razor jumping out of the balcony is going to be taking the onslaught exactly to the face of Eccentric. In doing so, has resulted in getting away with the kills, and Eccentric being sent back into the lobby. Faceoff looking really wise.
Exactly, Gremlin Storm's looking pretty decent at the moment. 3 kills is what they're standing at the moment, and now they're trying to pin down the players of Rex Esports. Certainly, they are looking in a sublime form, but there we go. Zap Canaval getting a better half of T-Rex Skeleton as they now leave the lobby with 8 kills in the favor, and with Winter bleeding off, it is going to be a tough affair because Bad Intentions just survive with 1 more player in the lobby. With more and more player coming in, it is also a chance where Faceoff can get the chicken done for themselves, as Zap Canavar can also give to a big challenge to them. But in all these things, it is obviously the team from the southeastern side that is going to be a Faceoff. The team look pretty strong at this moment because they are holding the compound, they are in the numbers advantage, and certainly the zone is favoring them. And most importantly, it is the zone knowledge, the surrounding knowledge that will be coming into key, as now Bad Intentions slowly and steadily players are pushing onto them. The only thing that they need to worry for the moment is they just don't get enough more split, else there are big teams in the lobby, still enough to take them down.
There most certainly are. With 4 teams remaining, it is going to be a conversation for Gremlin to be very careful as they try and make a push against the players of Faceoff. Faceoff looking very comfortable with the 6 kills that they've been able to accumulate. All 4 players still alive, and of course the circle favoring them based on the compound that they've been able to register for themselves. On the other tangent, Bad Intentions players, Counter as well as Fardeen, are being very quiet. The 2 players who have not been able to be a part of the kill department, but eventually they will be working towards those placement points. And eventually, as the game progresses on along, it seems like Faceoff is going to have to be facing the brunt of the situation, because the compound that they call their home is now certainly become vengeance, and this has turned into, of course, this being an open field battle, and that is where we do see 7C reigning supreme.
Here it is, but Zap Canavar, SUX have its clear eye up onto the players, and now Sedative is trying to use the grenade to its perfection way. 50 meters is what the team need to travel. If they try to go from the right hand side, it is going to be 7C GSM that will be taking care of. Gremlin Storm will be storming things off, as now they are being peppered with a lot of bullets. But till now, for the last 1 or 2 minutes, it has been a complete truce being settled, because they are just waiting. They are just not over aggressing, and Faceoff with just 2 meters to travel into the zone with that exclusive drop that can actually come into hand. Just imagine that MK14, if that is in the drop, the players would love to have their hands upon, but Zap Canavar now smoking their way. They need to go into the zone. Zap Canavar, other player is in different direction. Two players in a different split, taking one fight with one team and another player with another team. This is certainly an approach that is highly doubtful at this moment. With Gremlin Storms, the players are going slowly and steadily. Counter goes down, and all of a sudden Gremlin Storm looking right and perfect at this moment, as now Rocks on the side of Faceoff is trying to pin down the players. Evilized location has been revealed. If this grenade lands perfectly, this can be a game end for him.
It most certainly could be the case. 4 teams alive right here. Faceoff just absolutely bringing in the onslaught again and again and again against these players, and eventually, of course, it is going to be none other than Gremlin Storm, who find themselves very close to the area, and it is also going to be Zap Canavar's players who are trying their level best to control the rotation being showcased from the side of Gremlin. But will it be enough? Because look at Rafat. He has been on top of that tower, but sadly has been knocked down, and in doing so, it is going to be very tricky to give him that revival. But eventually, to talk about revival, this has turned into a face-off situation where this team is absolutely going to be pincering down the players of Gremlin again and again with those utility parades that's being showcased from the side of Meliodas.
Meliodas brings the knock that we were awaiting for it, and brings the knock, and with that, it is now going to be a time where 7C's players will be peppered down with a lot of grenade, but we need to make sure that Fardeen is already present there. He's not giving any sort of sound cues, and all of a sudden, Meliodas was trying to hover the crosshair into the same position, the same area. He's just having the smallest of the idea that some players are actually positioned in that situation. It can be really tough for him, but that drift, it seems that he's trying to spot down the player, but still not enough for him. Crate is pretty much close towards him, but if this grenade gets connected, Sedative can be a dead bet. It can be a coffin in which he needs to find himself, but still not enough. That grenade was not enough, but all of a situation, Kapshi and Evilai has been pulled down, and everything resides onto the shoulder of Bad Rev, and this is looking bleak for the moment. But from the backhand side, Bad Intentions, Fardeen is still strong. FO, that is going to be a face-off. Really need to take care of that last player standing, else it is no other chance that the chicken won't be their way.
Well, with that, face-off seems to be getting closer and closer to that chicken dinner. 10 kills confirmed for this team, and finally, as they push on to the player of Bad Intention, Bad Intention's player will not give the kill. He will rather go down with the blue zone itself, but eventually, what a perfect game for face-off indeed. The circle working in their favor, the compound that they held strong was certainly the main reason that helped them in such a massive way. With that, 25 points is what this team walked away with, thus giving them on the overall ranking number 6.
I've told you. We have talked about this thing. I mean, if the compound and the circle is actually favoring you, we have seen in the past, and this has been the storyline of this complete PMCO BadBlood region. The team actually tries to recapitulate onto that and just maneuver and try to take the best out of it. Eventually, it was at the end of the day that Faceoff not only took that chicken dinner, but also a high fragging game.
Oh yes, a high fragging game indeed. I mean, this team walked away with what, 10 kills, so a perfect annihilating play that was showcased from Faceoff indeed. With that, let's move on and have a look at the MVP coming in from this game, the most valuable player, and that is going to be T-Rex's STFU, the man of the hour. I mean, this is the player who we were talking about, who made that rotation into the flank angle and was absolutely able to pincer down his opponents and was absolutely in control with the 5 kills, 1 assist, 726 damage that he dealt. It was looking GG play for the side of T-Rex throughout the game.
Indeed, it is a complete power pack gameplay that we just got to see. 350 healing done is certainly that the player needs to think about in the past, but certainly he made sure that he is not going down and he is not letting down the hopes of his team. And for the moment, it is going to be him that is topping the chart of the top 5 players. But in that, it is going to be also Meliodas from sides of Faceoff, and him joining by. Razor is also going to be the other teammates. But all of a sudden, Gremlin Storm, Kapshi and Badriff chiming into the top 5. It's certainly looking good. All of a sudden, this day has been completely dominated by Gremlin Storm. Talk about the other team, but this has been on one way.
That is so true. That is so true indeed. I mean, we did see, of course, TRZ's approach falter down in this game, but on the other side, when it came down to Gremlin Storm, that team was just consistent through and through. On the other tangent, a perfect play being showcased from the side of Bad Intentions, wherein they were just a 3-man squad, but still walking away with 3 kills and the 12 placement points working in this team's favor, as well as, of course, the perfect skilled fight that was showcased from T-Rex's players in the initial moments of this game.
Indeed it is, and what a game at the end of the day. I mean, Bad Intentions also getting a lot of points from this match, and A lot of team, I would talk about Zap Canaver. This team also got a lot of momentum carrying in from the last match. It was also one thing that went in the favor. MARTYRS Epsilon really martyred everyone that was in the lobby. It was the early stage of the game where they took the fight against Sinners, and they were looking pretty strong at this moment, and they were trying to not bridge camp, but obviously trying to camp that bridge that connects the Rozok area from the northern side, and because of that we were getting to see a lot of kills, but that was a bit secured. Sinner Esports on the other hand side just took one, and it was also TRZ Sports with one, Final Cut Esports with one. So certain teams did falter down, but it was a lot of points that was shared between the teams that was standing on the top 5. We talk about Faceoff, we talk about Bad Intentions, we talk about GSM, or talk about MARTYRS Epsilon. That was just looking so phenomenally well for them.
Absolutely were, and Sinner on the other tangent certainly not bringing the gameplay that is required when it comes to the PMCO teams. But eventually, as the journey was progressed, let's have a look at the Oppo F19 Pro moments, the recap of the journey of the story on this map of Erangel.
Indeed it is, and this brings afresh the memories that we got to see. We might have missed, we might not have, but we would really love to relive this for once. And the fight actually started erupting in the early stage of the game itself, where TRZ Esports were right off the bat were being third party for thanks to the onslaught that came in from the side of Co-op on the backhand side, and Gremlin Storm were really reigning supreme, and then they just overpowered and tried to overpower. They were being pinned down, and then it was I would say not an unnecessary push, but a push that had a real good answer from the sides of Zap Canaver. And Zap Canaver, now they have shown that they really have the gun power. Won't you agree with me on that?
That is true. That is so very true indeed. I mean, they were absolutely relentless when it came down to those onslaughts that they were trying to bring on, and the conversation during those fights as well from Zap was certainly seeming like absolutely in control. But eventually, as we moved on along with the 4 teams remaining, this is when things took off a different toll, because it was none other than Faceoff that was just again and again those perfectly set up nade parade that was being showcased from Milio resulted in the team of Gremlin Storm being at the receiving end. But boy oh boy, what a play this has turned out to be. Bad Intentions right here find themselves on the top of the leaderboard with 132 points. Following them is going to be TRZ Sports with 114 points, and Gremlin Storm on the third with 106. So these are the only 3 teams that have been able to reach the 3-digit marker. On the other tangent, talk about GRE Sports. They had a really good day. That was day number 1. On day number 3, they have been kind of consistent, but have not really been on to the power level that we that they showcased on day number 1. But as we move on down through the list, it is of course going to be followed as well, Faceoff as well, who find themselves in the top 8.
Indeed, and the last game itself, the chicken actually helped them shoot up their numbers, and because of that, we are finding themselves on the 6th position for the moment. We're now seeing the second half of the chart where Infernal Parasite, since they are not playing the match, they are getting a dip, but Zap Canaver, all of a sudden now they have started blowing the whistle, and just because of that, they have find themselves on the top position with Black Diamond getting more and more drop. It is also not looking good for teams like Final Cut Esports. They are finding themselves in at the 16th position, and time again, we have been calling this for sure that at the end of the day, it is going to be the top 11 that will be aggressing for the next stages that are going to be on the finals. But in that doing so, what team and which team and what sort of effort will be there, and what sort of change will be there, as we still now see in Esports at the end of 8 matches, just the 23 total points on an average of 3 points from per match. Not enough from the kill department, not enough from placement department, not looking good. Getting accumulated just the 27 from 8 matches. I guess once different group come into play, because at the end of the day it was A and D today, B and C will be for tomorrow. They will be getting more and more depth.
Absolutely, B and C group are going to be playing tomorrow, where we will be introduced to these teams that are finding themselves on the final page of the leaderboard, with Oxygen Rising Star Team, IR, PX Esports, MARTYRS 1971, and the rest of them as well, because after all, those teams did showcase some wonderful plays on day number 2. But now, as we move on along, this is the moment that we were talking about. I mean, which team is it going to be that finds themselves on the top of the leaderboard? It is none other than, of course, Bad Intentions. With that, let's continue on with the show. Let's move on to the kill leaders being showcased, and it is going to be none other than TRZ Mamba, who has been reigning supreme with 24 kills, 3,243 damage that he's been able to dish out. But following him very closely is going to be Winter with 23 kills, just 1 kill shy, but the damage of 5,096.
Certainly has the potential to actually trespass Mama on a very fine day. I don't have any sort of agony in saying that, but Winter has been the man in form. It's just the 1 kill that he's away. Maybe when the group comes into action, that can happen. But for sure, the survival time is completely shared in the way, but certainly the damage, perspective that we just talk about, it is Winter that is trying to dominate, and also it's friend Naruto, and then it is gonna be Gods Reborn, one player that was Sketch. They are looking strong at this moment, but certainly the man of the moment, the kill leader, is being topped and charred by Mamba Noob from the sides of TRZ Esports.
Well, with that, we do reach the end of our day. A perfect turn of events is what this has turned out to be on day number 3 of PMCO for the Bangladesh region, along with which it is a huge thanks to Oppo F19 Pro, as well as you guys sitting back at home for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care.
Here we go now. 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 Here we go now.